If I say all lives matter, I'm a racist. If I stand for my flag, I have to apologize for it. I'm not allowed to go to church, but I can burn churches to the ground. I'm not allowed to open my own business, but I can go loot and destroy other people's businesses. If I wear a badge, have a gun, and I'm dressed in blue, I'm a racist pig. But if I walk around destroying my city with bricks and masks, I'm considered a peaceful protester. I'm not allowed to peacefully protest the lockdown at my capital, but I can go destroy and graffiti my capital. I'm not allowed to go to the park to play t-ball with my family, but I can destroy the park. I'm not allowed to protect our historical monuments and history, but I can go tear them down and have them land on top of people. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on racial matters because I'm white, but if I don't have an opinion on it, I'm the reason why people are oppressed. I can go riot in the streets with the BLM, but if I go to a Trump rally, COVID-19 magically appears. Does anyone else not see the hypocrisy in all of this? I am done with your bullshit.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Indaba, Africa. This is Chris coming to you from central Pennsylvania. Whether you find yourself somewhere in the Yukon, somewhere in the Gaeltacht in Ireland, in Malaysia, Singapore, even mainland China, you're welcome to watch, assuming that the Chinese Communist Party has not shut down your feed. Those in Hong Kong expressing solidarity with you as you lose your democracy. God bless. Hold tight, stand fast. Folks around the world in Oz, in NZ, Germany, Österreich, Südtirol, Botswana, Ghana, Namibia, and South Africa. Sawubona, South Africa. Hoyanand. How is everybody doing tonight? Good to see you guys. Hey, so how was that from Fog City Midge? That poor young lady doesn't know what she can and can't do. It's so confusing. If she doesn't take a knee, she's a racist. If she doesn't apologize for being white, she's a racist. You gotta feel bad for the young lady. That's a tough situation there for her. But anyway, but seriously, folks, talking about events around the world today, I hope that that you enjoyed that little 1 minute video that I thought I'd stick in there. Anyway, so who we got tonight in the chat? Let's see who's here. Marius Krukamp, Wesley, TJ Van Herden, the Brew. Yeah, I saw the Brew is here. I think the Brew is in the garage now, as opposed to going to the garage. And then Anna's here, Linda. Let's see who else we got. Anthony Purchase, Corlia, Fundemelva, the Handy Dutchman, Linda Smith, I think he said, my new name, Evening Mensa. Wow, was connected via Bluetooth speakers when this started. This song sounded brilliant, whereas previously through PC speakers, just another nice song. Well, I think my new name, we probably need to get you some decent PC speakers. You know, I've got Altec Lansings. They are quite, or no, I'm sorry, I have Harman Kardons here, not Altec Lansings. My Harman Kardons rock. They're really good quality. I actually had them for about 12 years. They're really good quality speakers. And without even an amp, you get great music. So, yeah, the Brew, are you checking out your Castle Lager in the garage? Luke, the lead slinger, is here. Erica, hey, Erica, good to see you. Nigel, who else we got here? Bruce Bastas, Nezi Vildna, good to see you. And I'm sure I've missed somebody here. Make sure, there's Jake Watson. Martin Mull, good to see you. Nigel, hey, Nigel. Christian, good to see you there. I don't know what Biper Trump means. I'm sure that means something. Are you starting trolling already, Christian? Come on, man. We're just getting started. Drian, Karen, good to see you guys. Joe Emilio, some of you here now. I take it you were elsewhere. Where are you guys at? Where are you coming from? Did somebody go on that I missed? Is who's on now? It's not Roman. It's not Roman. It must be. Anyway, yeah. So, hey, Joe, speaking of Joe Emilio, you're not the only one that folks are canceling out, my friend. If you're keeping up with Scott Baio had a television program that was all set to go into production, and a leftist scumbag has put the kibosh on it. In fact, sent a message to a friend of his, didn't realizing it was Scott Baio's friend, and says, I have no interest in letting Scott Trump Baio be on this network. Woo, I smell a lawsuit coming on. Let me see what else we got here. So, Joe, you're not alone. He's a kind of a high-profile actor. Of course, he's from Happy Days. He played Chachi back then. He also played Joni Loves Chachi. He's been around. He did not Charles in Charge, one of those other programs. Maybe it was Charles in Charles. But, yeah, Scott Baio, very talented actor. Jacques Joubert says, hey, Chris, nice Namibia rugby jersey you got there. That's right. I have the Velviches on today. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Velviches from Namibia, the national team. And this is a 2019 Rugby World Cup jersey. There you go. In Japan. Got this one in Toyota City. Had to stand in line for a good 48 minutes and got the last one. Fortunately, I'm tall, and it was an extra large, and the Japanese are mostly shorter. And someone grabbed it, and they looked at it, and it was too big, so they put it back before I got to the front of the queue. And I got it after waiting all the time. Cool. Dodgy Joe. Okay. Melt Murray, how's it? Oh, well, actually. Hi, Christian. Again. Hey, yeah, Joe, I listened to your video on Gareth Cliff. That was pretty good. It's interesting how Gareth and those guys didn't really know the story. People assume who don't know the situation that you must have said something on your stream. No, folks, for those who don't know, Joe Emilio was not even talking about Donald Trump or politics or anything at all related to the attack that took place when he was online. And he was just attacked by this person, Nikki Arison, who decided to go after him. And hopefully she's learning that you can't simply slander or defame or libel people just for the heck of it. Oh, people are on the Loving Life channel. Okay, well, I hope that was good. Joe Emilio, your opinion on the warrant for Trump's arrest? For those who don't know, the wonderful democracy, the ever pleasant republic of Revolutionary Republic of Iran has issued a warrant for Donald Trump's arrest. I don't know what for. Presumably, it's because they blew up their nuclear testing facility a couple days ago. Did you notice that? No news about that. We're hearing about mail-in voter fraud, and the New York Times devoting all of its energy, and the CNN devoting their energy to debunking the unfounded claims of Donald Trump. Never mind the actual claims about legitimate voter fraud, which I just discussed on a video on my site, which, by the way, isn't being monetized because YouTube has been held up to monetization. You got to wonder when you do political. I did this one intentionally to see what would happen because I did a political video in the U.S. a few days ago, and I didn't attack anyone. I didn't point out anyone in particular. I just talked about the armed insurrection taking place in our country and the absence of leadership across the country without calling anyone out specifically. That one I didn't monetize because it was just doing it as a patriot. I figured since this one was 15 minutes, I'd monetize it so there'd be a commercial at the beginning, a commercial at the end to see what would happen. As it was loaded up before the video, now I understand why it takes so long to load videos onto YouTube. It's not my connection. I have a T1 connection, so I got over a megabyte per second. It is that YouTube is reviewing with software, AI, your video as it loads up onto the site for prepared video. So in the midst of me loading it, it was already denied monetization. So then I went in after it was loaded and said, not eligible for monetization, but it still had the drop-down button. So I clicked on monetize, and then it said ads pending. Well, it's been ads pending now for over an hour. That is a highly suspect situation. Yeah, so Donald Trump's arrest. Joe also asked me, we were talking private about Interpol, whether they would honor the warrant. No, I seriously doubt it. There's no legitimate basis for it. Heads of state can't be arrested for these things. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, the Brits and Spain broke the mold when they tried and effectively detained Agustino Pinochet, the former head of state, for crimes supposedly committed when he was the head of state of Chile. That set a bad precedent. And then, of course, Charles Taylor only left because he was promised that he would not be prosecuted and he could get asylum in Nigeria because the U.S. and Nigeria promised him that. He went to Nigeria, and when it became politically inconvenient, they betrayed him and then dropped hints that he was about to be arrested anyway. And so he attempted to flee to Cameroon. They used that as the basis for saying he had broken his asylum and used it to put him in the docket, take him to The Hague, and try him for war crimes. And he's now a convicted criminal. Not that you should feel any sympathy for Charles Taylor. I'm not saying that. But heads of state have certain immunities for their actions as head of state. And for a country like Iran to issue a warrant, big whoop. Not impressed. Sennheiser's decent. They're not quite as good at quality as Harman Kardon's, but yeah, they're good. Bro, that's good stuff. Let's see what else. 5 sets of PC. Whoa, somebody's got 5 sets of PC speakers. What are you, a musician, man? What's going on here? Oh, my new name, but never connect them since Bluetooth came along. Oh, okay, gotcha. Gareth, I was canceled. Canceled how? Joe, I did a stream and some of the usual suspects. Yeah. Oh, you did a stream, Joe. I'm sorry. I didn't know Joe was doing a stream. My apologies for that. Didn't mean to intrude on your time there, Joe. But dude, the 9:35 is my time slot. I mean, who schedules a stream for 9:35? No, I do that. I remember that a while back, a few weeks ago, Ronaldo said to me, he said, "Hey, Chris, if you're going on, why don't you go on, right after my stream?" And I answered that, well, you tend to go over. And so if I schedule my stream for 9 o'clock, by the time you finish, sometimes people won't be coming until 20 minutes later. And what I did is, knowing that a lot of people like to watch Ronaldo's stream, and some of those folks watch his stream and my stream, I figured why not give people a chance to take a break, run to the loo, grab something to drink, grab a little something to nosh on, and that's why I set my regular stray voltage for 935 in South Africa and in Botswana. The Bruce says, Joe, can we not be friends? Of course you can, guys can be friends. You're funny. MJ grew up in Namibia. Whereabouts, MJ? Where did you grow up in Namibia? Please tell us that. Yeah, this is a family show most of the time. Acidzill, good to see you there. We can be friends. Okay, you guys are sorting it out. All right. My new name says visit Namibia, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes not. I'm not so sure we want to investigate what the not voluntary was, unless it was in uniform and you didn't have a choice. Joe Mayo, you didn't. My stream ended at 9:30, and some people here. Oh, okay, cool beans. Good to go. Well, I hope it's a good stream, Joe. I don't know what you guys talked about, but I hope it was interesting. Yanni says, so do you expect our SA government to extend the national state of emergency? Yes, I do, Yanni. I wouldn't be surprised to see the South African government continually extend this the maximum amount of time that the law allows them through 2020. Yeah. Now they're going to play games with what's allowed and what's not allowed. So, for instance, they've tried to undermine the Democratic Alliance governance in the Western Cape by, implying that the Cape is the most heavily infected part of the country. It's out of control, and so we're going to have to not lift the standards there. It's going to stay in lockdown. Only for the facts to be coming out now that, in fact, Gauteng has more cases in the Western Cape, and it is rapidly assuming the hotspot of South Africa title. Yep, absolutely. Well, it's a given. You expect that. It's densely populated, people living in tight quarters like in Alexandria and other places. Bound to happen. Let's see. The Brew, you were on, okay, so The Brew was on, I saw The Brew, unless somebody faked your profile, on Ronaldo. So then you went to Joe, and now you're here. All right, cool. MJ was in Windhoek. Okay, cool. Yeah, Windhoek is a pretty nice town. I enjoy it. Lucas Devalis says, great show, Chris. Well, thank you so much, Lucas. I really appreciate that. Is that a Harley-Davidson logo you got there? That's awesome. Harley-Davidsons are manufactured in, not the only location, but they're manufactured in York, Pennsylvania, which is the capital of this county, York County. And it's about 20 minutes below my house. So it's pretty cool. Audio too low. Well, I got the audio cranked up, and nobody else is complaining about it. So anyone else having trouble with the sound? That's the first I've heard that. Rainier. Good to see you, Rainier. I have the audio set at this level because I did a video and I was getting too much in the way of pops because I didn't put a pop filter on here, and I've changed the mic around as long as he brings a beer. Karen was born in Windhoek, very young when she moved to Pretoria. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we got here. Chris, you made a claim about mailing and voting was inherently fraudulent. Please prove your evidence. Aha, okay. All right, well, let's see. I'll do it this way. I work for the New York Times, so whatever I say is the truth. All right, let me help you with that. You need a little bit of help there. Okay, so the Heritage Foundation. You asked me for the proof there, Christian. I'm happy to provide proof. So let's just go ahead and bring this in. Windows capture right screen. There you go, Christian. A sampling, not a complete story, of recent election fraud cases from across the United States. The Heritage Foundation's election fraud database presents a sampling, not even a full accounting, of recent proven instances of election fraud from across the country. This database is not exhaustive or comprehensive. It does not capture all cases and certainly does not capture reported instances that are not investigated or prosecuted. It is intended to demonstrate the vulnerabilities in the election system and the many ways in which fraud is committed. In addition to diluting the votes of legitimate voters, fraud can have an impact on those close elections. There you go. And we have many close elections. So let me slide down a little bit there. 1,285 proven cases of fraud with 1,100 criminal convictions. Pick a state. Well, let's pick Pennsylvania since that's where I'm at, okay? And this will go down to Pennsylvania. And here we go. 2018, Mr. Calvin Maddox got a criminal conviction for, it doesn't say what he did there, but in 2017, Richard Cummings Jr. got a diversion program, in other words, avoided criminal conviction for false registration for elections. 2016, Cheryl Jamison, criminal conviction for impersonation of fraud at the polls. She went to the polls and pretended to be someone she wasn't. Robin Traynor, Linda Murtaugh, Myron Cower, Dimitri Cooperschmidt, Eugene Gallagher. You know what's similar about all these things? Mostly white folks' names. And I know it's a big assumption there. But these are just a small sampling of cases, and there are many, many more. That's just one instance. So you want evidence? You want proof, Christian? Well, there's a start. We can just start with that proof right there. Is that satisfactory, or do you need more? I know leftists really, really, in the face of all news, they can't hang, but all evidence. So there's part of the claim. That's a little bit of the evidence, Christian. That took very little time to find that. There's plenty of other records available from the government about voter fraud. But that's just one. It's easy. Rolls it up. You can find it very quickly. Yeah, they're doing more testing in Western Cape. That's true. You guys are picking on the brew. Handy Dutchman, thank you. In fact, in my video, I did address it in terms of the 1,100 convictions. That's correct. All right, the sound is good. Thanks, Christian. I appreciate that. Just bring your refreshments. Yeah, Harley is perpetually facing financial troubles. That company always seems to be in trouble. So I can't say about what's going on there. That's not mail-in voting. The topic, okay, Christian, I get your point. Okay, got your point. Okay, all right. Okay. Well, I'm not going to sit here and eat people's time looking for the database. You can go to heritage.org and look up their election fraud databases, and you'll find. You want mail-in voting fraud? Okay, let's get that for you. Let me find that for you. Okay, here you go. All right, there you go. Let me help you out with this one, Christian. Okay, you were correct, Christian. You're making a distinction there, and I conflated voting fraud with mail-in fraud, but I did talk about both of them in my video. So let's talk specifically about mail-in fraud. Here you go. City councilman among 4 facing voter fraud charges in New Jersey, the 25th of June, 2020, on no less the Confused News Network. CNN itself is actually covering this. A city councilman and a councilman-elect are among the 4 people charged with voting fraud related to the May 12th municipal election, New Jersey Attorney General Baer Grimes announced Thursday. Patterson City Councilman Michael Jackson, Councilman-elect Alex Mendez, Shalim Khalik, and Abu Razen have been charged with criminal conduct involving mail-in ballots during the election. Today's charges send a clear message. If you're trying to tamper with an election in New Jersey, we will find you and we will hold you accountable, Grimes said in a statement. We will not allow a small number of criminals to undermine the public's confidence in our democratic process. Oh, but we will, ladies and gentlemen, and we do. We do allow this to happen around the country. It's been happening for years. This one just came to a lot of attention because in this case of over 16,000 ballots cast in the state of New Jersey, in Patterson, New Jersey, for this primary that took place in May, 1 in 5 ballots were invalid. Now, those are the ones that the officials caught because they were obviously fraudulent ballots. Christian, evidence. Do you need more prima facie evidence? There are more sources beyond, if you don't trust CNN, I get that. Not exactly a trustworthy news organization, mostly an op-ed network and an op-ed media site, not really news, but that's news. There were no adjectives in there. They simply stated the facts. I can find more of those if you'd like, or we can simply go to the state of New Jersey and interview the Attorney General and get his view on it. I'm sure we can probably find video. Lots of mail-in voter fraud. The reason we don't have many cases of it in the past is because only a handful of states actually practice mail-in balloting because it is subject to fraud and very vulnerable. The state of Oregon was the first to go to this asinine system many years ago. And then Washington State went to it, and only a handful of other places do this idiocy. Now, states under largely Democratic control, progressive leftist control, are seeking to use mail-in ballots to defraud the American electorate. Why? Because of COVID-19. But of course, in the same jurisdictions like California that are arguing for mail-in ballots, we have people gathering in the streets, burning things, looting, attacking people, harassing police and law enforcement and emergency medical technicians, declaring self-autonomous independent zones in the streets of Seattle. Yet we need social distancing. We can't go to the polls. Nonsense, utter nonsense. What America should do is what people in Europe do. Instead of voting on a Tuesday, on a work day, vote on a Saturday or Sunday. Be open all day and then people can vote. Anyway. Brian says, greetings from Randburg. Well, welcome, Brian. Good to see you there. That's not mail-in voting. You're correct. I already answered that. Okay. No, Christian. Obviously, you didn't watch my video, Christian. If you watched it, you didn't listen, or you put it on mute while you just watched me, gesticulate. Military does not do mail-in voting. You are wrong. You are 100% wrong. I spent 36 and a half years in uniform. I never did mail-in voting. I did absentee voting, which is different than mail-in voting. See, this is the problem with leftists. They parse, they make assumptions, they distort the story. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make this clear for folks. Mail-in balloting, the effort that's currently underway, by several states in this country, at least 11, is not absentee voting. It's a completely different process. To be an absentee ballot voter, I must have gone to wherever I intend to vote in person and presented my identification in order to be a registered voter there. And only then, when I'm out of the state for an authorized absence, not just because I feel like staying at home, am I able to vote. So an authorized absence would be a business person traveling abroad. It would be a service member stationed in another state or elsewhere around the world or in a combat zone. It would be a foreign service employee working in an embassy or diplomatic mission around the world. Not a foreign service employee working in a different part of the country, because you don't get to keep your state residency. If you're from the state of Virginia and you move to California or to New York to work at the UN, you don't get to keep the New York. You got to keep or you can't keep the Virginia. You got to change New York. But if you're a diplomat and you're from Virginia and you go work in Mozambique, you can vote in Virginia. Absentee balloting is not mail-in balloting. The only similarity is that both rely on physically mailing in a ballot. Because you mail in a ballot doesn't make it mail-in balloting. That's a completely different process. Now, that doesn't mean that federal absentee balloting does not have fraud. There is a small amount of fraud that takes place there. But the system is much better maintained and better tracked and easier to keep an eye on. But mail-in balloting, we got people in New Jersey who got 9 ballots mailed to the house. They live in apartment complexes and someone mailed them 9 ballots because that's who's lived at that address in the last dozen years or so, because there's a high turnover. So the guy could have simply mailed the ballots back. And the argument in the video that I talk about that Miss Wiles, I think her name is Wiles, Julie Wiles from the King County Board of Elections claims, well, we have tracking, we have codes on here. So what? So what if you have tracking and codes? If you just mail ballots out willy-nilly? Now, I'm not denigrating the state of Washington system, although there's plenty of issues with that. I'm talking about applying a single example of a state that you claim is successful and saying that's how it works everywhere. It isn't how it works everywhere. Or we wouldn't have had 20% of the ballots in Paterson, New Jersey be fraudulent. That's 20% that they caught, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows how many of those ballots are actually legitimate? Convicted felons, foreign nationals. The fact that you reside in America doesn't give you the right to vote. That's a right reserved to American citizens, native-born and naturalized citizens who are not convicted felons. Now, some states have allowed convicted felons to vote in what I call a disgraceful tarnishing of the right to vote. If you're a convicted felon, you've broken the rules of society and don't deserve to vote. Now, if a state wants to make a period of time, say for a certain offense, you have to wait 20 years, okay, that's different. But just give me it back? No. Anyway, so absentee balloting is not mail-in balloting, two completely separate things. Mailing in voting, Chris. I don't know what you're getting at, Christian. Rainier Duplessis says, does the CIA have records in the old SANDF, like who did national service? That level of detail, I would be surprised if Langley has that sort of information. There's not much value to having it. And of course, the CIA does have records on the old SANDF. I'm sure some of it remain classified. We got records on pretty much any system of governance and militaries around the world. Just a smart thing to have. No, they don't have mail-in voting. Christian, please, when did you serve in the U.S. military? And where are you registered to vote? Please tell me which elections you voted in the United States. All right? The topic here is mail-in voting fraud in the United States. Not South Africa, not Namibia, not Hong Kong, the United States. In fact, in South Africa, if you weren't present for elections, you were just screwed until a few years ago, and finally a court case determined that you had to give South African nationals abroad the opportunity to vote abroad. But until then, you were denied the right to vote. I'd vote like we have. You got to have legit ID if you want to vote. All right, Cotto, just take him out. I mean, Christian, let Christian troll. There's no reason to take him out. He hasn't been disrespectful or rude or racial or something like that. He's never done that. He's just challenging, and that's fine. I don't mind Christian challenging, so please don't delete that. It's not necessary. Trump votes by mail. Yes, he votes absentee, Christian. Trump does vote by mail, absentee. He's authorized to vote absentee. He's in federal service, and he's serving in Washington, D.C. artificially. He's not a resident of Washington, D.C., so he can't vote there. He votes in his jurisdiction because his federal service took him there. There you go. There you go. And he's entitled to do that. You guys are talking about Namibia. My new name says, heard this morning of a bribed official dropping a whole bucket load of mail and votes into the box. It happens, yeah. Thank you, Handy Dutchman. That's exactly the video. I put in the video. It's Christian isn't watching the video, so. London is very expensive. Joe is asking, it's already been done, permission to terminate Christian from chat. No, don't terminate him. Let Christian back in, please. That's all right. No, it's fine. If he wants to misbehave, that's fine. Nothing. Oh, yeah, Joe, you held your fire. Thank you. Followers getting hot full of it. Okay, yeah, I guess. Okay, well, that's all right. Christian, give him a timeout. The way they handle it, if somebody's not being disrespectful or they're borderline, if they're disrespectful to me, thank you for defending me, but as long as they're not abusive to other members in the chat, for my moderators, don't take them away. Just give them a timeout. You have the ability to give them a timeout, which means they can't chat for a few minutes, and then give them a chance to calm down and realize that what they're doing is inappropriate. So let's do that, okay? All right, so hopefully Christian hasn't run off because he got deleted in the chat. So let's get Christian back in the chat. In fact, I don't want to. So one of my moderators, please go do that. Release Christian. Release the Kraken. Release the Kraken so he can get back in here. All right, please do that. Okay, folks, so back to what's going on here. You guys are just having a lot of fun chatting here. It's almost like you don't need me. You've just got the chat topic going. All right, but let me bring up some of the news. So let me go back to the news. I already talked about this issue with the voting taking place in New Jersey and the fraud taking place there. But some other things are happening around the world today, folks. So, for instance, I saw this op-ed in News 24, and it looked very interesting to me. It says, Trump wanted asylum and U.S. citizenship for white South African farmers. Sounds like an interesting topic. I'm sure plenty of people who are listening to this stream would be curious about that. And, of course, this comes from disgraced former National Security Advisor and Ambassador John Bolton, the neocon who wants us to be at war with every country around the world. Anyway, so in this, the author is John Madison. John Madison talks about Donald Trump and white farmers, and it ends the first 3 paragraphs. From there on, the rest of the story is undermining Trump's foreign policy, calling Trump names, talking about how appalled Nancy Pelosi is, as if she's a credible politician of any stripe, talking about the European Union planning to close its doors to U.S. visitors because of failure to contain the pandemic. Yeah, okay, fine. Close your doors. Shut down the ports, too. Keep your Mercedes, your BMWs, and all your nonsense cock in Europe. We don't need it. We can make our own cars. Not as good, but we can make them. Anyway, so that's what this article is about. It's all about denigrating Trump. And it's an op-ed, so fair enough, but it's clickbait. The topic listed, the title is Trump wanted asylum, but it's not about Trump wanting asylum for white South Africans. That's just in a South African newspaper to get you South Africans to tune in and read this nonsense, this opinionated piece, which is just full of nonsense. Anyway, all right. Linda says, please don't terminate Chris. I enjoy his yeah, no, I said don't terminate him. Please bring him back. Whoever's, let's get him back in here. Otherwise, if you can't get him back in, I'll go do it myself. But, okay, so by the way, speaking of news in South Africa, 7 airports are going to reopen on July 1st. Fly the empty skies, ladies and gentlemen. My question is, who exactly is going to be in the air other than Cyril Ramaphosa, the members of cabinet with their luxury jets flying around the country, private aircraft owners, billionaires? That's pretty much going to be it because South African Airways is still bankrupt. And beyond that, Comair is currently in business rescue. So Comair can come back. They have the capacity. They were just trying to conserve cash. But who exactly is going to be flying? Because South African Airways, under this bizarre plan that strips the airline down to just a carcass, a shell of what it once was, with just 20 aircraft, will fly. You ready for this? Within South Africa, the flagship carrier of South Africa, 3. Oh, you can't see me. I got my fingers up. Okay, this is much more effective when I do this. South African Airways, the flagship carrier of South Africa, the pride of the ANC, will have just 20 aircraft. And you ready for this? For domestic flights within South Africa, SAA will fly 3 domestic routes. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 3 routes. 3 routes. Why are 7 airports opening if there's only 3 routes for other flights? My point is that the 9.7 million people who flew on South African Airways in 2019 don't have a home to go to now. And if it does come back, there's not going to be any flights for them. So you better pray that Comair and Kulula come back quickly from their business rescue, which I think they will. But that's not going to be enough to address the domestic air passenger need in South Africa. So big whoop that they're opening 7 airports. There are going to be 7 empty airports, most likely. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Well, Tian is exactly right. Comair is not going to come back until the regional routes. Okay, got you. Regional routes. Well, then they're not going to come back. So the domestic market is not going to be. Okay, Yanni, I'll take care of it. I have more permissions. Folks, give me a moment so I can get Christian back in here. Hopefully he didn't run off. I do have control over that somewhere. I think it's under settings or something like that. Yeah, give me a moment. I'm going to bring Christian back. Permissions. Community. Here we go. Hidden users. He's not listed as a hidden user. I don't see him listed here. Interesting. Nothing I can do. Bring him back right now. All right. Sorry about that, Christian, if you got closed out, but don't be so cheeky like that. Anyway. Anyway, sorry about that. I can't. I just looked at permissions. There's nothing I can do, unfortunately. So sorry about that, guys. Thanks, Yanni, for trying. Joe Amelia says the article is disgraceful, not because of what it said about Trump, just the way it misled people to read it, just to be honest. Well, exactly, Joe, and that's my point for bringing the whole thing up in the first place. If you're going to put a news article up there and says Trump was trying to support asylum for white South Africans, then people are going to come read the article because they want to know about that topic. But the opening 2 paragraphs talk about that with no detail, and then they shift to things, and he throws in a bunch of names, Mattis and Pelosi and all these other notable figures, as if to give the impression that Trump's foreign policy is lame. Well, then if you want to say Trump's foreign policy is lame, then that should be your headline, not about asylum, because we all know that this is a topic of interest to many South Africans. Yeah. And by the way, what exactly is the problem? Let's pretend that Donald Trump actually, I don't believe a word Ambassador Bolton says, but let's pretend, and of course he might be misrepresented. I haven't read his book and I don't intend to, so I'm just reading what the media tells me. So maybe the media is misrepresenting what Ambassador Bolton says. But I listened to his interview and it doesn't seem like it's being misrepresented. So I don't believe a word he says as far as Trump wanted to offer asylum to white South African farmers. What is wrong with that? Why is it wrong to offer asylum? I mean, Trump was being lambasted because he was denying people asylum. He's a xenophobe. Oh, wait, I got it. America can only accept refugees from downtrodden countries who are people of color, apparently. We can't give refuge to Hungarians or to Poles or to Czechs who are persecuted by Soviet communism or to white South Africans persecuted by ANC communism. No, we can't do that. We can only give refugee status to ingrate Somalis who come to Minneapolis and destroy the social fabric of that city. Now, that's not to imply that Somalis have done that, but a number of Somalis have done that. For instance, of the top 85 people on the FBI's domestic terrorist list, 17 of them were Minneapolis-based Somali Americans or Somalis who were living there. Yeah, and of course, famously, we have a representative from that part of the world, yes, who is from Somalia and spews the most hateful, anti-Semitic, racist bile that you could ever imagine. But we're only allowed to take asylum seekers from places like that, but not from anywhere else. Oh, please. It's not even been an issue. It shouldn't even be a topic if Donald Trump is offering asylum to people from anywhere in the world. Just the leftists and their nonsense. All right, let me catch up over here. Oh, you gave me 300. Okay, thank you, Kyle. 300-second timeout. Okay, that's why I can't get rid of it. All right, cool beans. All right, well, Christian, if you're there, you're going to be able to come back in a couple moments. It's only a 5-minute timeout. All right, Kyle, that's fine. If it was a timeout, that's cool. Thank you. Back to the ongoing collapses. Lucanio. Lucanio, I can only pronounce your name, and hopefully I get it correctly because, of course, Lucanio, the rugby player. Yep. Anyway, we need one exception to prove the rule. I'm always weary of opinion pieces. Well, Clip Cup, I appreciate that you're weary of opinion pieces, but I've written opinion pieces. So, for instance, the article that I've asked people to read about the stream that I'm going to do later this week, I asked you to go read an article that I wrote. And it's largely opinion, but it's an opinion that's based in fact. It's not simply, I think that somebody's bad. No, it's actually talking about real issues. And so what am I talking about? People are probably wondering, well, let me pull this up in just a moment and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yesterday on the Stray Voltage live stream, we discussed something to do this week. And I talked, because people asked for it, I said, well, we can do a stream talking about land and poverty in South Africa. So land and poverty in South Africa. Let me pull this article up. And I said, you guys can do it with me, but let me read the comments that I put in the video. So this is scheduled for Thursday at 9:35 in South Africa and at 3:35 here in the East Coast of the United States. And the topic is special feature call-in show. So listeners will be able to call in. I'll be setting up Zoom to do that. Land and poverty in South Africa. So join us for a call-in special feature on Indaba Africa, the Chris Wyatt Africa channel. Based on subscriber and member interest, I will host a special feature on land and poverty. Oops, I got a typo there. I guess doing this during a live stream actually paid off. Land and poverty in South Africa. But the stream comes with a price. I have some homework for folks. If you want to participate in the stream, I ask that you read my LinkedIn article on the topic. The special feature will include a Zoom session. If you call in, please be ready to share personal experiences, insights, or ideas. This is not intended to be a whinge session, but rather to have a cogent conversation about the topic. So what am I talking about? 2 years ago on LinkedIn, I published this article, which is really an op-ed. And in fact, I've identified as an op-ed because I am all into full disclosure. So here you go. So if you look at this, South Africa Land and Poverty, and it's dated the 7th of April, 2018, and solutions, not whinging, not complaining, but solutions for the benefit of all South Africans, not their politicians. And you can see I've clearly identified that there's an op-ed right there. But this op-ed addresses all sorts of issues. And as you go through it, I give recommendations on how to fix what's broken in South Africa. Anyway, so I ask, in fact, there's data from the land audit from 2017. And that's from November 2017, the land audit that was done to say who owns land in South Africa. So I ask that you go check it out. The link is in the description of the video, but I'll also put it right now in the chat so you guys can find this article. And you're welcome to join me on Thursday for this special feature on land and poverty in South Africa. So I'm going to post that sucker in there right now. All right, that's where the article's at. You can check it out. Yeah. All right. Somebody's airline. I got ahead here. Okay. Kitty brainwashing. Sky Greg T, welcome. You're not late. It's never too late to come in. Lucania says the issue is placing a restriction on race. I'm black and I'm also suffering from it. You are. And Lucania, that's exactly the point I consistently make. The ANC's nonsense is affecting all South Africans. For instance, the Tourism Relief Fund's position that they can discriminate against minority-owned businesses is just nonsensical. The fact that the North Gauteng High Court supported that and said that the Tourism Relief Fund was not discriminatory or racially discriminatory and said that it's permissible for them to deny funds to minority-owned businesses is disgraceful. Now, why is it disgraceful? Because I care only about minorities? Of course not. I care about all South Africans. The reason it's disgraceful is because, let me turn this off. The reason it's disgraceful is because the average percentage of employees who work for minority-owned businesses, 2/3 of their employees are black South Africans. Not colored, not Indian, not white, but 2/3 on average are black South Africans. So if you deny relief funds to a company based on a racial restriction, you're directly harming black South Africans. If your goal is to help only black South Africans, then you're self-defeating. It's stupid. Absolutely stupid, moronic. And the list goes on and on. BEE has eviscerated economic growth in South Africa. It has destroyed the fabric of legitimate commerce, with people going out of their way to do corrupt practices to get contracts and fictitious companies getting tenders simply because they're black economically certified, BEE certified, and they get contracts to deliver things like textbooks in the Eastern Cape to school districts. And then there's no textbooks delivered and no crime, no charges filed. And who suffers? Black school children, Xhosa school children in the Eastern Cape who have no textbooks in their schools, or kids who die in pit latrines because the money is diverted to fraudulent construction companies based on them getting a contract that they're not capable of fulfilling simply because the owner is black. That's racist. It's discriminatory. It's morally repugnant, and it harms black South Africans. So Lucania, I'm with you, brother. I'm absolutely with you. It's not about white South Africans. It's about all South Africans. That's what it's always been about. That's what it's always been about. And there was a time when the African National Congress espoused these values and believed in a multiracial society. I don't know that they don't believe in one now. I think what they believe in now is they have to do whatever they need to do to fool people, to vote for them, because they're becoming increasingly unpopular. Increasingly unpopular. Christian says Trump doesn't even know about South Africa. He can point us out on a map. You're right. He doesn't. By the same token, Christian, tell me about Pennsylvania. Tell me about Maryland. What do you know about Maryland? I'm listening. Welcome back, Christian. I see you're back in the chat. Thanks for taking your time out in good spirit. But yeah, Trump doesn't know where South Africa is. Who cares? What does it matter? He doesn't have to know where South Africa is. Don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but South Africa doesn't matter geopolitically to the world at all. At all. Especially to a world that is stuck in the mindset of 1994 and thinks that South Africa is the rainbow nation where people line up in mass in long queues to vote. People don't even bother to vote in South Africa. You got 8 million people that don't go to the polls. People fought for centuries to get the right to vote. And their progeny don't even bother to go to the polls. Yeah, so who cares whether Trump knows where South Africa is? He doesn't need to know. In order to be an effective leader, you don't have to know. Yeah, Tristan's scrolling again. That's fine. He makes a point, though. Linda says the saddest part... Oh, God bless. Got ahead of me there. The saddest part is that half our farmers are working in America to earn money they cannot earn here and work. Well, not just that. I mean, you have South Africans farming in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Georgia, all over the place. Huh? What's going on, Brew? What's going on with the Brew? Well, what is Christian's point? Did I address it? Please share with me because you're saying he's expressing it wrong. So what's his point? Come back to it. Please help me out with that Clip Cup because I don't want to misunderstand what you guys are getting at. Bolton's book, page 383, How Trump is Going to Help South African Farmers. Okay, it's in his book. You think I believe that? You think I believe Ambassador Bolton? Yeah, Ambassador Bolton is one of the crew that got us into Iraq, ladies and gentlemen. So before you start attributing all kinds of wonder and greatness to Ambassador John Bolton, remember that he's a neoconservative, and the likes of Dick Cheney, that were hell-bent on blowing up Iraq to reconstitute it in an order in their worldview that they thought that if they simply brought democracy to the Arab world, that Arabs would embrace it and ignore millennia of antagonistic politics in the region. They were wrong. I should be grateful for deciding voices. I don't know what you're getting at, Christian. Who's deciding voice? What are you talking about, man? I'm the one that said bring you back. I didn't spank you. I'm the one that said bring you back, so you must be talking about something else. Dissenting voices. The USA Today said it's really upset how China is using COVID-19 to bully its neighbors. Well, it's been using all kinds of things to bully its neighbors. It's nice that they pay attention to COVID-19, but what about the Chinese Navy? What about Chinese trade practices, banning imports of foreign goods, all kinds of things. Rougeau, oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before. Sorry, let me get back. God bless it. Sorry, guys. The chat just zips up on me here. I don't know why it does that. But I saw Rougeau T. Hi, Chris. What's your opinion on the viral interview with Yuri Bezmenov? Also, what do you think of the future of South in regards to Chinese influence? People keep asking about this Yuri Bezmenov thing. I don't know anything about that, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to look this interview up with Yuri Bezmenov. Who is this Yuri Bezmenov? That's like the third time in a week that someone's asked my view on it, and I got busy and didn't get a chance to look it up. I don't know anything about that, so I can't comment on Rijol. What's my thoughts on the future of South Africa with regards to Chinese influence? Well, the Chinese have a great deal of influence with the African National Congress, and if anyone doubts that, all they have to do is look at what happened with the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama tried to come to South Africa for a human rights conference. If there's anybody that's mellower or cooler or fairer than the Dalai Lama, please point them out. Mother Teresa has passed away, so it's not her. He's a really cool dude. He's for nonviolence. He's for reconciliation. But the fact that he is the legitimate ruler of a country that China illegally annexed sets the Chinese Communist Party off. So anytime they can influence people to deny the Dalai Lama access to their country, they do it. Anything to silence the Dalai Lama. So when he was supposed to come for the Human Rights Conference, they intervened, and the African National Congress was only too willing to deny him an entry visa to enter into South Africa on the basis of no reason whatsoever. That was followed up, of course, by the Dalai Lama later being invited to the 80th birthday party of Bishop Desmond Tutu, his long-standing friend. And, of course, the ANC, while it was still on the floor licking the heels of Chinese overlords, gratefully said, well, absolutely, we will prevent the Dalai Lama from coming into our country. We don't want to upset you. And so they denied the Dalai Lama a visa for a second time. Now, what's ironic about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that amongst the staunch supporters of the liberation movement and against apartheid throughout the entire history of apartheid, or his lifetime, was who? The Dalai Lama, who the ANC had no problems with before they took power and then started answering to their overlords in Beijing. Yeah, so the Chinese influence is pervasive at the senior levels of the South African government, and it has a direct impact. What you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, maybe you don't know, maybe many of you don't know, is that the ANC has sold your industry down the road to China. Let me explain. The multi-fiber agreement gave companies that established factories in third-party states, like in Southern Africa, an artificial advantage in that China, for instance, and Taiwan could not only ship so many textiles to Western markets under General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, or GATT, which became the World Trade Organization, the basis for it. What happened is that in the 1990s, they negotiated an agreement called the Multi-Fiber Agreement. And the Multi-Fiber Agreement was set to expire in January of 2005. What the Multi-Fiber Agreement did is it allowed those countries like China and Taiwan to manufacture their textiles, say in South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland, Botswana, Mozambique, and then ship them to the West. And they got around, legally, they got around quotas by doing that. And they weren't charged duty as a consequence. Now, if China shipped more than they were allowed to the U.S., they paid a higher duty, which was not a fair trade practice, but that's how the system was set up. So China and Taiwan put up factories all over Southern Africa. Within 6 weeks of the multi-fiber agreement expiring, 180,000 textile jobs disappeared from Lesotho alone. South Africa lost its textile industry. If you go back 20 years ago, virtually all clothing in South Africa was manufactured in South Africa. Some was imported, business suits and some things like that. Today, less than a third of the textiles that people purchase in South Africa actually purchased in South Africa or made in South Africa. They're made elsewhere. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the ANC is all too happy with that. While they watched tens and hundreds of thousands of jobs disappear to Asia, the ANC did nothing to protect. Now, I'm not arguing for protectionism, but what I'm saying is they don't care about the people of South Africa. They were happy to go along with the global elites and open their economy up to be flooded by cheap, inexpensive goods rather than setting up reasonable measures to protect them. They're giving funds to BEE status. If a white guy has black companies, they do get funded. Huh? No. There are minority-owned business clip called that employ South Africans of all ethnicities and races, but they're not BEE certified because you have to meet certain thresholds for that, which are racially based. I have a friend who's an Indian South African who's bankrupt now. His business went broke. 16 of his 23 employees were black. He was denied relief funds because he's not BEE certified. There you go. The Bruce says, love what you do, but start something real. Help us out here if you can. Your voice is heard. Okay, well, when you say start something real, what are you looking for? I'm not going to get involved in the ARC. You see what happened in that nonsense. That's not for me. Christian asked a really good question. The first of the month is coming. How many people are going to be able to pay their rent? Or even you? Yeah. Not too many, Christian. Thank you, ANC, for destroying South Africa's economy, which you'd already weakened to a point of near collapse. Now you've caused it to collapse with your hysterical overreaction to a virus that you claim you've stopped. But in fact, the numbers are rising exponentially in South Africa. Why? In part because you're actually getting a real idea of how many people were infected to begin with. Linda says you're correct. South Africa is completely a blip on the map. It is, and I say that with all dispassionate honesty and humility. The reality is, it's a blip. It doesn't matter. There was a time when South Africa was critically important to the world. Its chrome, its gold, its mineral resources, its role as a bulwark against Soviet expansionism in Southern Africa. All of those were important to the world, or parts of the world anyway. I shouldn't say all the world. Soviets didn't like that. But it did matter. But South Africa today is a minor gold producer. It's 10th in the world in gold production. China is the world's largest gold producer, followed by, I think, U.S., Canada, or something like that in that order, and Australia. But South Africa is only 10th in the world. And the gold that comes out of South Africa is very expensive to mine because you have to go so deep under the Midrand to get the stuff. It's so deep under the ground. The costs are exponential. And so it's a minor gold producer. South Africa is a minor diamond producer these days. minor diamond producer. It's still a very important player when it comes to platinum and some other resources. But the world doesn't buy Krugerrands by and large anymore. People forgot what Krugerrands are for the most part. It's not a emergency safety measure. The world has largely forgotten about South Africa. Now, it's unfortunate for South Africa, but it's very fortunate for the ANC. The ANC can get away with all kinds of nonsense, like race-based policies. Things that we all argued against for decades with apartheid, said it was morally repugnant, morally wrong. And yet the ANC can put it in place. You can have the president of the African National Congress stand up before the world and tell people in New York at a United Nations summit, there are no farm murders in South Africa. Well, first off, how could you even say that? There's farm murders in America. Farmers get murdered in this country. Not like in South Africa, but farmers get murdered the world over. So to make the claim is just ludicrous on its basis. What he meant to say, though, is that there's no orchestrated campaign against white commercial farmers in South Africa. Had he said that, he might have made a bit of legitimacy in his argument. I would disagree with that, but at least he would have a legitimate argument. But just simply state, as if people were children and foolish little sheep that know nothing about the world, oh, it's completely wrong. Donald Trump is misinformed. There are no farm murders in South Africa. Really? Really? Tell that to Edward Neumeister. I'm sorry, you can't. He's dead. Yeah. Anyway. But Christian is right. People aren't going to pay the rent. That's a problem. It's been a problem. Black lives, what's this? Gareth says, Black lives don't matter. Karen, soy boys' lives matter. They're trying so damn hard to make themselves feel relevant, but they don't care. A lot of things are going down the tubes. Erica says she's sorry about my friend. Well, thank you, Erica. I am too. He's a wonderful guy. I'm not going to share his name. I've known him for a long time because of LinkedIn, and his business was interesting. He's an Indian, South African. He's married to an Afrikaner as an Indian, which is an unusual situation in and of itself, but not unprecedented. And he's being discriminated against because he's not ANC, he's not black, and I suspect, but I have no evidence of, he's also being discriminated because they know he's married to a white woman, so that probably plays a role too. But I can't substantiate that, so can't claim it, but I suspect. But thank you for your concerns, Eric. I appreciate that. But it's not alone. Now, there's many other people that I know in South Africa that are suffering under similar circumstances. Hendo says many factories close in China, dump their cheap crap on the South African market. True, all with the endorsement of the African National Congress. René Duplessis Heritage. Chevalier Duplessis, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, had to leave and withdraw, and the President provided testimony for zeal, bravery, and conduct. Journals, U.S. Congress. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. That's interesting. We had an Afrikaner or Boer, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army. Interesting. That's cool. Yeah, so nobody even asked me. I guess we got off on the track. Why did I say remember your heritage or be proud of your heritage for this stream? What you see on the stream, ladies and gentlemen, is a photograph of William Baer Grimes. William Baer Grimes is my second great-grandfather. He was born in 1838, died in 1913. He was a farmer in Frederick County, Maryland, which is about an hour south of where I currently live. And his middle name is Baer because the tradition in the family was that the middle name for the firstborn son was the maiden name of the mother. So his mother was Elizabeth Ann Baer. She came from an Amish family that was based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and she wasn't Amish herself, but that was a couple generations before that. They moved westward and then southward into Frederick County. So he served in the Maryland 7th Infantry Regiment of Volunteers and enlisted in 1862 when he was of age, along with his brother Ephraim. They both served in the same unit. He became a corporal before it was over. My second great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, served in over 30 major engagements, including Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor, and many other key engagements in the American Civil War. In one of the engagements, he was marching in formation towards the Confederate lines. I know this because there's a historian who did first-person oral history plus a research history of Frederick County and interviewed hundreds of veterans in the 1880s and 1890s before they died. And so he told his story about marching in formation against the Confederate lines, standing shoulder to shoulder with a soldier on each shoulder, marching forward. The Confederates fired a volley. The guy on his right, the guy on his left, both shot right through the middle of the skull, dropped dead from musket ball. Formation tightened up, they continued to march. He survived that. Were it not for a few centimeters, a few inches, I would not be present today. I'm sure we all have stories like that in our history. But so my great-great-grandfather William Baer Grimes fought in over 30 major engagements to end the institution of slavery in this country and to preserve the Union of the States. My father, when I was young, used to take interest in the Confederacy and talk about the Confederacy. We were from Maryland originally. It's a border state, but in some respects a southern state. It was a slaveholding state. And he would talk about the glory of the Confederacy and things like that. And so I presumed that I had ancestors who had fought for the Confederacy until I started doing family history research. And when I did family history research, I found out that of the 8 great-great-grandfathers, because that's how many generations back I would have 8 who were alive in that time frame, who were of the right age to go and serve in war. Of the 8 great-great-grandfathers, I had 7 served in the Civil War. And every single one of them served in a Union regiment, all to preserve the Union and end slavery. Now, I have ancestors that owned slaves. Do I feel guilty? Not at all. I didn't own slaves. Didn't receive anything from that. I feel bad that that existed and was wrong, morally repugnant, but so is slavery today. But I do take pride in my ancestors having fought for the Union and to end slavery. 7 of 8 grandfathers. And the other one didn't serve. So 7 out of 8. That's pretty cool. So don't be ashamed of your heritage, folks. If people in your past did something positive or negative, it's not you. You're not responsible. The sins of the father, the accomplishments of the father, do not fall to the son or daughter. It's nonsense. Utter nonsense. We are who we make ourselves to be in this existence. But you can be proud of your heritage. My ancestors founded this great nation. My first immigrant ancestor arrived on these shores in 1621. He was the brother of the first royal governor of the Jamestown Colony of Virginia. Sir Francis Wyatt became the first royal governor. Prior to his arrival, they'd had a succession of company governors who were employees of the Jamestown Company, or the Virginia Company. He was the first royal governor appointed by the king. And within a couple of months, he organized the defenses. When the Powhatan Indians attacked Jamestown and killed several hundred of the English settlers, he organized the militia and fought back against the Powhatans and wiped them out as a threat. They never again threatened the existence of the English colony of Virginia after that. And they were dispersed amongst other groups and as a tribe ceased to exist. Am I ashamed of that? No. It was self-defense. First immigrant ancestor. My last immigrant ancestor came here in 1848 after the Prussians took over the part of Germany where he lived, in northern Germany. And rather than serve in the Prussian military, he decided to go to greener pastures, got on a boat, sailed to Baltimore, where he settled. In between, I had Dutch ancestors who founded New Amsterdam. I had English ancestors who were part of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and all of them did something interesting. Some of them did some really amazing things. Some misbehaved, but their sins do not reflect on me. And anyone thinks it does, they're full of it. Hit the road. Zek, foot zek. Take your nonsense elsewhere. There you go. So be proud of your heritage, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my new name is saying join with the Hawk and recruit a team. A team of what? Special forces? MJ is asking, how can that be reversed? What are you asking about? What can be reversed? Regional says, Yuri Brezhnev talks about the subversion of countries by old Soviet powers. It goes further, but rather which can't. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. I'll have to watch that. Chrome is very much alive. Yeah, chrome is still around. It's important. It's an important mineral. Christian said something because it said, okay. To think South Africa was a superpower until America stepped in. What? What? Christian. All right, you're just having a go down. Now, look, I don't know why you guys are upset about Christian because he's just saying nonsensical things. South Africa, a superpower until America stepped in. What do we step in? What do we do to stop South Africa from being a superpower, Christian? Come on, man. You're just having fun now. I don't know why you guys are upset about Christian. He's just not making any sense. Petrus Ostoys says he had 34 construction companies as clients before the lockdown. Only 3 started again. Oh, that is so sad, Petrus. Yeah, the carnage of the ANC's hysterical overreaction to COVID-19 is now playing out in a rising number of cases because they failed and they were never going to succeed because they weren't going to be able to enforce strict lockdown conditions in townships and rural areas of South Africa. It simply wasn't going to happen. So they pretended to do that, and they knocked a few heads in Alexandria, killed Collins Kosa and a handful of other black South Africans, and then retreated to the shadows. and it was never going to happen. So all they did was penalize South Africa's economy, and we still have the cases. Erica says, yep, I'm dealing with more and more daily who've lost everything on the verge of landing on the streets. That's true. Did I miss any Rick Grimes jokes? No, Defender. I don't know what Rick Grimes jokes there might be. Yeah, Hendo, thanks. Please hit the like button, folks. It doesn't cost you anything to push the like button on this. Really appreciate it. Luke, the lead singer, nice cover photo. Okay. Linda says, such a wonderful history of your family. Nice to know as a person where you come from. Yeah, thank you, Linda. But all of that, okay, so I like to tell people, I said it's interesting because if you go back my ancestry, I mean, of course, anyone who has Anglo-Saxon heritage has probably got most likely kings and queens in our history. In fact, so William the Conqueror, or also known as William the Bastard, is my 34th great-grandfather. The person that he defeated on the battlefield at Hastings was Harold Godwinson, and Harold Godwinson was also my 34th great-grandfather. Of course, by the time you get to 34 ancestors, generations back, you have lots of great-grandparents. So both of my great-grandparents, Edward Longshanks was my ancestor, and dozens of other kings and nobility, knights and nobles are my ancestors. That's all fine and dandy. I didn't have $25 to apply to go to university, so that doesn't help me out. You have Adam Wyatt, who's a famous medieval English poet, well-known. You have Sir Thomas Wyatt, who at the age of 34 was beheaded after leading an insurrection against the king over religious conflict. He marched an army of 5,000 from Kent up to London. And by the time they got to London, a lot of these people were like, I don't think I want to do this. And they started turning around and fleeing and deserting his army. So he had a force of only about 3,000. They were defeated. He was captured. He was tried and beheaded in the Tower of London. Yeah. So that's all fine and dandy. But those are not me. Interesting people. It gives me a tie to history. It's something I'm interested in. But those people aren't me, and they don't reflect who I am. And how I make my way in life is not, I didn't get any inheritance. Nothing came to me. But yeah, Linda, it is interesting stuff. But you are who you make yourself. Dopey Smurf, that's cool. Minority rights don't matter unless you are pink, otherwise die. Okay. Are you being facetious or trolling? What's going on there? Clinton McConnell says, wasn't there a famous Wyatt in the West? Yeah, that was Wyatt Earp. His surname is Earp. My surname is Wyatt. So that was a given name. In the English language, Wyatt is a given name for many people. I had a guy in high school named Wyatt Brown. But yeah, that's not related at all. Then we're all sinless. No, Christian, we don't carry the sins of our ancestors. If you sin in your lifetime, then you're not sinless. You can be forgiven for that. At least that's what Christians believe. But you're not sinless. Anthony says USA detonated the first atomic bomb. South Africa tested theirs in 79. Okay. Yanni says Christian Perigo, sad to say, but if you're telling me, if the USA had to step into South Africa, they are stepping into crap. Sorry, buddy. Love South Africa, don't love our government. Well, you're not alone, Yanni. A lot of people, in fact, 11 million smokers probably not very fond of South Africa's government at the moment. I'm just saying. Anyway, so, yep. Lockdown could have worked and isolated the virus in areas, but they let taxis do what they want from day one. Very good point, Tian, VJ. Very good point. And they allowed people in most townships and rural areas to move about unfettered and didn't lock them down. While they were busy locking up mothers with toddlers and infant children for sitting on a beach and arresting fathers holding their children in their arms on their own property behind their own fence line. Yeah, criminalizing over 250,000 South Africans. Now they're all happy about that. Only the Springboks are superpower. Yeah, the Springboks are a superpower, man. 3-time William Webb Ellis champions. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And most recently in Japan in 2019. Got the All Blacks off that stage. So happy about that. And they didn't even come in second, the All Blacks. I love it. Why do Z calls for more rights in USA, but P can't get the same in America? What? You confuse me. Keith, the superpower might be a reference to the USA insisting South Africa drew back from expanding to what was now Zimbabwe when South Africa poised to take Harare. South Africa was poised to capture Luanda in Angola, but was never poised to take Harare. I'm not sure what that's about. Linda says, so interesting. It doesn't matter where you come from, you make your own destiny. But yeah, I agree. We agree there, Linda. Absolutely. Luke, the lead slinger, says on your other chat you were commenting on Belgians. I'm a Belgian national, born in Zimbabwe, raised in Natal in Belgium, living in Cape Town. Well, that's super cool. Luke, yesterday somebody was asking where, it wasn't Nigel, but it was somebody saying, where are the Belgians in South Africa? Well, they're there. They're there. You're one of them. The Brew, you missed my history quote, of course. I did. Sorry about that. Reese. Oh, there's Reese, ladies and gentlemen. In the house, Reese van der Veld. Reese was my guest on my Saturday live stream. She is a small business owner for the Hair Tribe. It's a hair salon located in Johannesburg in Sunny Hill. And she was on the program Saturday. You should go back and watch the live stream. It was brilliant. And unlike some of my streams, it didn't go on for hours. We clipped it at 1 hour because I had to go on germ warfare. But it was fantastic. Reese and I talked about the impact of COVID-19 lockdown on small businesses, and particularly in the service industry where she's located at, doing hair, a place where you can't maintain 6 feet of distance. So what measures do you take? And going back to work as this thing lifted. Fortunately for Reese, her business survived the lockdown, and her clients, although some are struggling, they're able to come back, most of them. And she's fully booked, and she's got people back to work. And really interesting discussion. Reese, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Usually Reese is here, but she's not on as herself. She's just hiding behind Yanni. So she's in here tonight. Good to see you, Reese. Thanks for joining us. René Duplessis, heritage I'm not proud of. Cardinal Richelieu, Armand Duplessis slaughtered 22,000 Protestants. Yeah, well, hundreds of thousands of Protestants were slaughtered when the Edict of Nantes was revoked in 1685. Yep. For those who don't know the Edict of Nantes, although South Africans probably know, but the Edict of Nantes was issued in 1590. It gave French Protestants, or Calvinists, in this case they're known as the Huguenots, religious freedom. And they tended to be, over time, the skilled, the talented, the connected, the wealthy, the prosperous, and the elite class of France. And that, just like with the Knights of the, I'm trying to think of right now, I've drawn a blank there, but the Huguenots were a group that had wealth, and they were envied, and they were a minority. So in 1685, the French king revoked the Edict of Nantes, suspending the religious freedoms that Protestants enjoyed in France. And the French went on a bloodletting. They broke into the homes, they murdered their fellow countrymen, they stole from them, they pilfered, they raped, and hundreds of thousands of French Huguenots attempted to flee the country. Not all of them were successful, many were murdered. And they eventually went to places like the Spanish Netherlands, which was Dutch, and they also went to Berlin, and some went to the UK. Yeah, so not a good history to be proud of. Yep. Eric is asking, Luke is another Belgian. See, yeah, Erica, she's a Belgian too, but she was born in the Congo, if I'm not mistaken. Defeat the pagans. Did Kissinger stop us from going into Rwanda? Tiana, that's a good question. I think only Kissinger can fully answer that. I'm not convinced that that's true. The issue for me is that I think the South African government made a calculated decision that they were overstretched on they had outrun their supply lines, and they didn't have the forces necessary to maintain the momentum. They would have found themselves in Luanda in an urban situation, and they were concerned that they would get eviscerated there. And I think that's probably what happened. I don't have documentary evidence of it. I wasn't serving the SADF at the time, but I suspect that's what happened based on analysis of events. Bobby B says, Chris, you got to listen to the President of Ghana audio going around on YouTube. He links to a document he claims is from the Rockefeller Foundation that basically, if true, seems to prove COVID is planned. Okay, that sounds like conspiracy theory, but I'll check it out. Bobby B, thanks for that. Dopey Smurf is in Zimbabwe. Well, welcome, Dopey Smurf. So great to see you there. I'm not so sure how you got tuned in. Maybe if you found me from LinkedIn or you found out that I do a lot of videos in Zimbabwe, but I'm glad to see you there. We feel great empathy for our brothers and sisters in Zimbabwe who continue to suffer under ZANU-PF and its decades-long malfeasance in that country now. Congratulations for being a Zimbabwean. Wonderful people from Zimbabwe. And I appreciate how you'd be concerned. Okay, Dopey Smurf, good enough, fair enough. I get what you're saying. I'll try to read through the tea leaves when you comment then. Thank you for sharing that. And Tanette, good to see you there. Oh, Loving Life was on. Okay, so maybe some folks are coming over from Loving Life now. Cool. The Bruce heritage has been thwarted. I'm not so sure what he means by that. Oh, Yanni, thanks for sharing that. That's the link, ladies and gentlemen, to the live stream with Reese van der Veld. Check it out. If nothing else, you got to see Reese's pink hair. It's really cool. It's worth the viewing time just to go check out her hair. But no, she was a fantastic guest. By the way, that touched off a series of, 3 in a row, really amazing streams from my perspective. You guys can agree or disagree, but Reese was amazing. Then I went on Germ Warfare. I had a blast on there. It was really good discussion. We didn't really get to the topic at hand, but Jeremy Nell and I talked about a whole bunch of stuff. He was kind of asking about my origin story, and I shared that. And then the time just went by. So Reese on my channel, then I was on Germ Warfare, and then I had an afternoon stream in which we wrapped up about Reese and had a lot of interesting discussion. And then on Sunday, so 4 really cool streams in a row, I had on this channel Big Daddy Liberty. And despite the fact I've had some amazing guests, Renate Quaza, Ronaldo Hos, Roman Kabanek, and a host of other really talented, really interesting guests, I have to say that the stream with Big Daddy Liberty on Sunday was my absolute all-time bell ringer favorite thus far. Really cool. And I think that people agree because it's been my single best watched live stream to date. We had 273 concurrent viewers going on, which is amazing. That's almost 100 more than my best. Roman was the best previous with 192. 273 concurrent viewers and over 2,500 views on that video already. Amazing. Good stuff. Really, really cool. So awesome. Reese says, yes, I'm not watching over Yanni's shoulder tonight. Exactly. We got ahead of myself here. Sorry, I'm trying to get some of these comments in here. The brew. Google Daniel Theron. Okay. Linda enjoyed the interview with Reese. Cool. Christian heard that Trump ignored reports about ransom American soldiers from Russia. Nope. If you're going to troll, the topic of the day is not ransom, but the fact that bounties were placed on American soldiers. Very different, unless you heard a different report there. Gotcha. Dogbreaker says, to think most white Europeans that are here today have survived the plague of 1347 to 1351. Yes, in which 75 million Europeans died, ladies and gentlemen. 75 million died. Not infected. We got 10 million people that have contracted the virus globally that have confirmed tests on thus far. And we've had 500,000 die. 75 million people died in a little over 2 years in Europe from that version of Black Plague. Whew. Tian says there's a miniseries called Grenzolog, covers the Bush War, some veterans, Kissinger and Freerd. Yeah, I'd like to watch it. Send me a link to it there, Tian. I appreciate it. There are commentators that call the Angolan border war a senseless war. What are your thoughts? Well, Clip Cop, that's a good question. Let me get through the rest of the chat, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. I'll make a note of that so that I can get back to it. That's a good question, I think. Hang on a second here. By the way, folks, thanks for tuning in. Great audience tonight. I've been so busy that I hadn't even pointed out that you're listening to Chris White Africa on the Daba Africa on the Chris White Africa channel here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really great audience viewing tonight and some fantastic comments and questions. Christian playing the role of troll, but he's actually had a few good comments in there too. So we got to know Christian is to love him. So glad he's back after his timeout. Let's see. So I'll get back to that question in a few moments there, Clip Cop. Okay, it's a good question. Gramley says, I'm 69 and I want a beard like you. well, Graham, this beard is only a few months old, man. So is the hair. And you see my photograph in that video from Independence Past. That's when I was on active duty just last fall, not even a year ago. And this is all since Christmas. This, well, the hair is since September, I should be honest. I cut my hair before I went to the World Cup in Japan. My head is crooked here. There we go. All right. Yeah, so the beard is just since Christmas. It's not even that long. So you've got time to get your beard, Graham. Luke, lead singer, I'm a Walloon. Liège. Okay, I've been to Liège. Nice area. Okay. Henrik de Klerk, just finished watching your stream, Big Daddy. Great conversation. Well, thank you, Henrik. Really appreciate that. I thought it was an epic stream. I really, really enjoyed it. Jake says, hi, Reese. My wife wants my beard to go. Must show her your recent interview with Chris. There you go, Jake. Yeah, that's right. Show her that interview. That's pretty cool. Lezan, good to see you here. That's why we kept asking for it. Knew you'd love the chat. Plus, he does what you always say is the only way to go around politics, go into the public and be visible. Yeah, exactly right, Lezan. No, thank you. But again, the problem with Big Daddy Liberty is that he didn't respond to my messages, whether it was intentional or it was just happenstance. I suspect it was happenstance. I never made that link. I think that what happened in the end is that someone whom I know kind of gave him a hard time about not responding to me. And a lot of you who watch all these channels went to Big Daddy Liberties, as I asked you to, and said, hey, you should get the Colonel on. And not on my behalf, but because you wanted me on there. So he kind of became aware of me. He actually, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, when we talked before the stream, we were talking, and he actually thought I was a South African before he started talking to me. That's interesting. A lot of people are claiming that I'm a South African. I've never made that claim. Never been a South African. I have said that if I weren't an American, if I was another nationality, I'd want to be a South African. But I've never claimed to be a South African, and I'm not a South African. I'm not a dual national. Joe Emilio, you're still here. I'm not a dual national. I'm a tried and true American. That's my passport. That's my place of birth. That's my allegiance. That's the country I'm loyal to. Yep. But he thought I was South African. So it's interesting that what people think and do and don't think about you. Clinton can even braai alone. I love Clinton McConnell can braai alone. You got to like that. Okay, Clinton McConnell can braai alone. McConnell's not a very Afrikaans surname. It's not German. It's not Dutch. It's not French. But he does use the Afrikaans there. I love it. Now I know everybody says braai in South Africa. It's not just anyway. Didn't the French Canadians used to do what to Protestants? No, that was. No, the number of French Canadians, Quebec was still French in 1685. And so it didn't really play out that way, at least not in a major way. Okay. Joe says, wishes I was dual national. Then I'd be confused, Joe. South Africa, United States. South Africa, United States. That'd be like somebody with split personality, man. You can't have loyalty to two nations. One flag, unless it's a sub-flag. So you could be like, U.S., Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. The Brew asked if someone likes biltong. Are you talking to me, The Brew? Of course, I love biltong. Absolutely love it. But here's a little secret. I actually like biltong that's made in Botswana. Hendo says Chris is a banana boy. What is that? What is a banana boy? Someone said that before because I'm a Western Province supporter, and they got the stripes on their uniform. Okay. Right. Okay. So I was going to cover news, and we've just really been chatting about things. So let me get back to the news here very quickly. Let me put this up really quickly. So here you go, folks. People are panicking in Zimbabwe because they shut down the stock market. The bourse was shut down, on Sunday, and based on a directive issued by the Information Ministry. A lot of people really nervous about what's happening in Zimbabwe, and there's the direct impact of it. Oh, and did you hear about this, ladies and gentlemen? COVID-19 test samples were found dumped along the N2 in the Eastern Cape. Someone just dumped them. Samples were meant to be transported to the National Health Laboratory Services Port Elizabeth Center. A courier for the company has been asked to file a report of the incident. Why in the world would samples, biological, hazardous samples, be dumped? That is either the height of incompetence or an attempt to cover something up. Whatever the case is, it's quite disturbing. COVID-19 samples dumped on the N2. Scary thought, folks. Once again, I mentioned the flights in South Africa, the airports will be reopening. Yeah, that's an interesting topic there. And we covered that already. So that's also on the voter fraud. And then just a reminder, folks, Lazarus Chakwera was sworn in as the president of Malawi after his historic win. This is the first time in the history of Africa that a recall election took place, or a rerun of an election, and an opposition party candidate won. Brilliant job by Lazarus, and congratulations to Malawi, the warm heart of Africa, which is proving that democracy and representative government can succeed even in a country that is beset by poverty and that has had past challenges. Malawi proves once again that a democracy can be vibrant, and you don't need to have oodles of platinum, gold, diamonds, or offshore bank accounts. You can actually just have hardworking, dedicated, honest, forthright people in your country to overcome those who try to subvert democracy. Let me get back over here. Username says I'm a Bulls supporter. Where do you get that from, man? You're just teasing me. I am not a Bulls supporter. I'm a Stormer supporter. Thank you, Hendo. All right, you want me to put that on the screen, Brew? Brew, are you in your garage again, Brew? Are you drinking something, man? What's going on? I'm just checking. Just checking, because you keep putting, Google this. And I got it the first time. I even mentioned it the first time. Okay, Daniel Johannes Stephanus Danny Theron was a Boer Army military leader. Okay. Is that the one you want me to talk about? The one who died during the Boer War? We'll put him up there. All right, the Brew wants... Is this the guy you want to see? Is that the one? Daniel Theron? Any relation to Charlize? What is her name? Charlize Theron, the leftist. Anyway, Coburg is a pit hole. Are people still drinking pineapple beer? I hope not. Gosh, can't you get that? Vutsarko, there you are. You had to leave early yesterday. I see you're here tonight. Brew loves his Castle Lager in the garage. He loves his Castle Lager in the garage. Yep, he sure does. Amidst his secret stash of illegal cigs. Anyway, so that's kind of the news, folks. What else? Any other questions or comments? And I'm gonna probably shut it down here shortly, although it looks like people want to chat, but I know people have to get to sleep and get some rest, get to work tomorrow. Listen, by the way, folks, thanks so much for those who've tuned into the channel, become part of it. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the interest. And as a reminder, this week I'm going to have a session, most likely this week, in which I talk with David Otto, who's a security specialist in the, oh, by the way, they finally turned on the monetization of that mail fraud video I did after 167 people visited it. You gotta love YouTube. 4,109 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, so yeah, thanks so much for being part of the channel, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It is very much appreciated. For those on past streams who become members, I think we're up to 53 members of Chris White Africa now. Let me double check and see. And I just want to make sure, and I can mention who the most recent members were from yesterday. Yeah, 53 current members: Charles Argo, Anthony Purchase, and Robert Z.A. all joined recently. Did I miss anybody? Oh, somebody quit, I think. Did somebody quit? Became a member quit? Or am I just imagining that? No. Anyway, and then, folks, thanks so much for the super chats. Had some really, no, super chats are not available. It's not telling me who has a super chat. Oh, YouTube is so inconsistent in what's available here. There you go. Yanni gave one to close out the stream yesterday, which was ostensibly to sign up for Zoom. Petrus Oosthuizen gave one, and Brett Sessens gave one yesterday, along with Bosch Zebra, and then Cristo Hoyo got it started on the Big Daddy Liberty. UCN gave a super chat as well yesterday, a super sticker, I should say. Really appreciate that, folks. That does help out. Appreciate it. Helps. I use the money wisely so far to buy new things, although I haven't received any of this money yet. It's coming out of my pocket. Gareth says, okay, it's the Brews direct descent. You're a direct descendant of that person. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, we were talking about heritage on here, so that's kind of cool. So thank you for sharing that one, the Brew. Really cool. For those of you who may be keen to your interview with Gareth Cliff, check it out. Yeah, please check that out. That's only about 18 minutes. Not going to take up a lot of your time. You go check it out. It's really cool what Gareth did on there. Although I was a little puzzled, Joe, because it was just like pictures of you guys, and it was none of them particularly complimentary. Like the woman that was on there was 4 people on the screen, and her face was frozen like this. And Joe was like this. Everybody's frozen. So instead of getting a live camera feed, it was like it was on the radio. So not so sure what was going on there, but it was kind of weird. So that kind of threw me off. But check out Joe Emilio's channel. If you're not a subscriber, consider becoming a subscriber. Joe is a very confused young man. He's not sure if he's an American, a Texan, an Egyptian, or a South African. But apparently he's an Egyptian racist piece of crap, according to the thoughtful, insightful, and well-informed and seasoned radio presenter by the name of Nikki Arison, apparently. So that's her view on Joe. But feel free to check out Joe's channel and find out if that's true or not. I can tell you in advance it's not true. He's none of those things. Anyway, but check out Joe Emilio's channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And it was a podcast. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, got it. Okay, it was a podcast. That's a feeling I got. It wasn't a video, more of a podcast. Anyway, yeah, but Gareth Cliff did an interview, talked to Joe about what was happening with the cancel culture. And as I mentioned at the start of this stream, folks, it's happening to Scott Baio. It happens to conservatives in particular, but Republicans in general here in the United States. It's funny because 50 years ago, Hollywood was very conservative, and the leftists were the ones who were frozen out when their politics became apparent. And the shoe's completely on the other foot. Conservatives are ostracized. They are attacked, they are defamed, and they're denied employment and opportunity in Hollywood in favor of untalented leftist hacks, which is really sad. So Scott Baio had a program that's now not going to be produced because some leftist scumbag doesn't like him and made the mistake of sharing that with a friend, a supposed friend, and now that information is out there in the public. So we'll see what Scott does. Anyway, what do you mean so much for heritage, Brew? What do you mean so much for heritage? What's so much for heritage, man? We talked about heritage a little bit. I told my story. You shared yours. What do you want me to talk? You want me to talk about him specifically? Daniel Johannes Stephanus Danny Theron, born the 9th of May 1872, died the 5th of September 1900, was a Boer Army military leader born in Tulba, Cape Colony. He was raised in Bethlehem in the Orange Free State. He's best known for the driving force behind the formation of the military bicycle corps used by the Boer Army for scouting and relaying messages, which I think you talked about previously, Brew. Originally trained as a school teacher, became a lawyer and notary with his own law firm in Krugersdorp, and was made a captain of the Boer Army when the Second Boer War began. During the war, he was put in charge of a significant scouting unit, the Theron Verkenningskorps, Verkennung, I feel like Verkenntnis, Theron Reconnaissance Corps. He fought at the Battle of Speenkop, and was one of his most famous feats occurred at the Battle of Paardeberg. The British Commander-in-Chief, Lord Roberts, called Theron the hardest thorn in the flesh of the British advance, put a reward of 1,000 pounds on his head, dead or alive, and dispatched 4,000 soldiers to find and eliminate the TVK. Cool. While scouting alone on a kopje at Hatzrand, about 6 kilometers north of present-day Folkville, he encountered 7 members of Marshall's horse and was killed in action. According to the source, Daniel almost ran into the cavalry platoon, but he reached and opened fire so swiftly that he nearly eliminated the entire squad of 7, killing 3 and maiming 4. Unfortunately, his gunfire drew attention to the escorting artillery, and the field guns opened a barrage on the kopje that killed him. General Devet remarked, men as lovable or as valiant there might be, but where shall I find a man who combines so many virtues and good qualities in one person? On the 15th of September 1900, the men of the TVK exhumed the body of their commandant and reburied him in the family cemetery on the Pinar family near Folkville. But on the 10th of March 1903, his last will was carried out, and his body was once again exhumed to be reburied next to that of his late fiancée, Hannie Nethling, on her father's farm, Eichenhof, on the Klip River. Cool. There you go, legacy. Cool. Yeah, Daniel Theron. Well, thanks, Brew. Thanks. I'm glad I could share that. On the 20th of December 1907, Generals Louis Botha and Jan Smuts unveiled the Danny Theron Monument near Potchefstroom. On the 9th of September 1950, a monument was unveiled at the location where Danny Theron died, near the N12 between Johannesburg and Potchefstroom. The monument has the following symbolism. The main body consists of 50 concrete rings, which represents the 50 years since September 1900 when he died, and a copper flame at the top of the structure represents the flame which burned in the hearts of Theron and his nation in search of their freedom and independence. Cool. A commando combat school was established in Kimberley on the 1st of November 1967, and 1968 was renamed the Danny Theron Combat School. South Africa's School of Military Intelligence is also named after Danny Theron. The Danny Theron Medal was instituted by South Africa in 1970. It was awarded for diligent service in the territorial reserves, but for officers only until 1975. The ribbon is green with 3 yellow stripes. During the Boer War, Danny Theron used the alias of Captain James Bond. This is probably where Ian Fleming, the writer of the British spy novels, got the idea. Ian Fleming stated in an interview that James Bond was named after British ornithologist and author James Bond, the name being selected because it struck Fleming as ordinary but masculine. His great-great-niece, Charlize Theron, is an Academy Award-winning actress and a sack of cock. It doesn't say that here. I said that. She's a sack of cock. Or at least her politics are a sack of cock. Yeah, there you go. There's some heritage, folks. Thanks, Brew, for pointing out a couple times to check that out. I'm glad that I read that for folks. Let me see what else we got here at chat before we get out of here for the day. Yanni says she can sec. Agreed. Linda says, I live in Kimberley, and it fascinates me. We have a few monuments here for fallen Norwegian and Swedish soldiers fought on the side of the Boers. Yeah, no, in fact, there were a handful of people from Europe, there were more Germans than anything else, who went to South Africa, well, to the Transvaal and the Free State to fight on the side of the Boers. The German Empire wanted to support them. Christian says, Chris thinks Trump's a god. He ain't. Okay, well... All right, Christian, you don't pay attention, man. Go watch Joe Emilio's channel and watch the show that he did about Donald Trump. And I was the guest. Both of us expressed our reservations about Donald Trump, and I pointed out some of his shortcomings, things that he's failed at. So if you think I'm a Trump fan, Christian, then you're not paying attention. The distinction you need to make here, Christian, is that I'm a fan of facts and of cogent, thoughtful analysis, not emotional nonsense, not cock, not leftist drivel, and not rightist drivel, but actual facts. And Donald Trump has shortcomings. But virtually everything that the media says about him can be dismissed almost out of hand because it's a tissue of lies. Donald Trump has stopped immigration to America. Absolute lie. Absolute lie. Lawful immigration continues at an unchanged pace. Donald Trump will prevent people from becoming Americans. Absolute lie. Over 1 million people have been naturalized every year of his presidency, which is the same level as it was during the Obama administration. Donald Trump is a racist. Prove it to me. If he's a racist, he's one of the worst racists on the planet. The man worked assiduously to work with black civic leaders and church leaders to improve black communities in America, is responsible for releasing ridiculous executive orders which hampered industry, which freed up many jobs and billions of dollars of corporate investment, which led to the lowest unemployment rate in recorded history in the United States of America for black Americans. The wealth disparity between blacks and Americans has narrowed before COVID-19 over the 3 years of his presidency, whereas it had widened under the entire 8 years of Barack Obama. Yeah, he's a racist. He's a very bad racist, a very unsuccessful racist if he's a racist. A guy who hung out in New York City as a rich person moving about the elite circles of New York, and all of his friends were black Americans. Not all of them, but a lot of his friends were black Americans. Yeah, not buying the story, ladies and gentlemen. He's a misogynist. He's misogynist because of a video in which he said something crass, in which he was describing the behavior and conduct of women in Hollywood, not his conduct. Taken out of context, perverted and distorted by a press and a Democratic left, all too willing to lie about the facts. Donald Trump is going to put us in a nuclear war with North Korea because he called Kim Jong-un Rocket Man. Woo! There's some thoughtful and deep analysis. What has happened? Well, the North Korean regime is still there, but it was always still going to be there. Do anyone honestly think that Donald Trump was meeting with Kim Jong-un to get him to have democratic elections? No. He was meeting with him to get him to stop launching intercontinental ballistic missiles over the airspace of Japan, an act of war, which North Korea had done on multiple occasions before Donald Trump came, while the feckless and cowardly Barack Obama cowered in the White House and did nothing about North Korea. Donald Trump actually met with the guy and got him to stop launching missiles over Japan's airspace. No one talks about it in the press, but that's a fact, and that was the objective. And that was what was accomplished. But instead they run around saying, oh, Donald Trump, just his ego when he met with Kim Jong-un, nothing came out of it. No, something did come out of it. That's what came out of it, and that's what it was all about. So when the press talks about Donald Trump, I prefer to deal in facts and genuine expectations. And beyond that, people who are so easily triggered by Donald Trump and fall for his shtick, they listen to his tweets. They read his tweets. Oh, my God, lose their minds. They listen to what he says. They lose their minds. None of that matters. It's what Donald Trump actually does. It's what he does, not what he says. His actions speak far louder than his words. And you'll find that he's amongst the most conservative in foreign policy for the U.S. in living memory, with the exception perhaps of Ronald Reagan. Very conservative foreign policy, very conservative. Not a xenophobe. In fact, he's opened America up to more products, just negotiating better deals with our partners. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. I can go on about Donald Trump. Yanni, let's talk the myth of Trump. Did you set up a stream for me, Yanni? What's that? What is this, man? I don't know. What's this link here? I'm going to check this out. Yanni just put a link in there. What is this link? Why is it not open up? Hang on. Where's that at? Why is this not opening up anywhere? Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is the link. Thank you, Joe. Or not Joe, Yanni. That's the link. That's the link from when Joe and I talked about Donald Trump. Yeah, so check it out. Christian, do yourself a favor. Spend a little time going checking it out. Thanks, Yanni. I forgot the title of it. I'm like, what's this? You making up something? Yeah, that would be the stream that we did, and check it out. It's pretty interesting. Hope you enjoy it. Joe and I did that a while back now. Yeah, and I've lost where did my chat go to? Somewhere in here, my chat disappeared. Very fascinating. I was keeping up with the chat, and now it's gone somehow. Disappeared on me. Very odd. Oh, I think that's where it's at. No, that's not where it's at. Strange. Interesting. Anyway, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, now I've only got my chat in one place. Let me try to bring it up here a bit. Okay. Open a web browser. There we go. Okay. Close that. Close that. Yeah. Joe's giving me a hard time. Joe, I forgot the title, man. I forgot the title. No, Christian, I never said you were defending Obama. And to be fair to Obama, I probably shouldn't compare Trump to him because I could just easily compare George Bush or Bill Clinton or, for that matter, the elder Bush to him. Yeah, no. No. I didn't say you were defending Barack Obama. from the bottom of my heart. I think the Brew is thanking. Oh, you're welcome, Brew. It's my pleasure. That's really cool. That's a fascinating heritage and legacy there, by the way, Brew. Really cool to know that about Daniel Theron. I remember he was mentioning he was the guy that founded the Bicycle Corps. Pretty cool stuff. Gareth says, from what I've seen, the wall isn't all that bad. They're working on it. Can go right up over with that train. Yeah. Why are you entertaining the soy boy? Well, the reason I entertain it, the Brew, is because when people spout nonsense, it's so easy to disprove. And, it's a conversation topic. So Joe says, yeah, he won't watch it. Probably not. Yanni's digging up old links. There's nothing wrong with digging up old links. Monkey pushing wood. America died in 1965 with the Hart-Celler Act. Well, you could argue that the Immigration Reform Act of 1964 probably had a major impact on what happened to America. And people are going to interpret the wrong way. Twittering about white power seems bad. Who's twittering about white power? What are you going on about? Obama was a total disaster for the USA. He was a total disaster for the world, Erica. The deaths of millions of people in the Middle East and North Africa are in the hands of Barack Obama, whose naive and foolish dabbling in foreign policy and encouraging the Arab Spring and the overthrow of regimes led to the deaths of millions of people because he had nothing in his place. Much like George Bush Sr. encouraging the Iraqis to rise up against Saddam Hussein in the aftermath of the Gulf War, but then not prepared to provide any support to these people who rose up against their government and let them be slaughtered by the thousands, Barack Obama did the same thing to the Arabs in the Middle East and created directly the conundrum of ISIS and the Islamic State, the Caliphate. That is all Barack Obama is doing. Not George Bush, which people claim. It's actually Barack Obama. Was Trump listening to Elton John when he said that? Good question, Hendrik. Trump is a doer, correct, Clinton? Obama is USA Zuma. Yeah, probably. Nigel, if one would immigrate to the U.S., what would be the best state as conservative? Well, Nigel, that's tough because there's actually conservatives in all 50 states, but some states tend to vote overwhelmingly at the national level for the left or Democrats. The two aren't synonymous, but they vote for one of the two. Although not all Democrats are leftists, but all leftists are Democrats. Anyway, it's tough. It depends where you want to go. The middle of Pennsylvania is a wonderful place for conservatives to live, but you have the challenge of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh being two liberal, leftist, progressive hubs, which wash out the conservative part of the 85% of the state that's not those two cities. And so you get a balanced state. But conservative, the Midwest, Ohio is a conservative state. Wisconsin is not anymore, but it was. Iowa's a conservative state, lovely places. Depends on what you're looking for. Colorado used to be a heaven on earth, but it's been ruined by leftists. Still a nice place, but the politics are just poison there. Idaho's a brilliant, amazing place. Texas, a lot of people. But Texas, folks, Texas 20 years ago had 19 million residents. Today it has 29 million people in Texas. Pretty crazy. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Yanni says, Laura called him that in chat once. Now it's stuck. What are you guys talking about? I missed something. People that believe lies will defend them. You're right, Christian. That's true. That's true. People that believe lies will defend them. That's true. Oh, the brew has just let the secret out. Now we know what the brew's name is. If I move back to USA, I'm coming to live close to you. Listen to Joe. Well, there's a lot of people in Texas, man. There's too many people in Texas. 29 million people. That's a lot of people. You know, okay, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, a little small fact here. Let me share this since we're still on. Okay, so I was listening to the Lieutenant Governor of Texas on the radio yesterday, Abbott. And he was talking about Texas. Texas, a state with 29 million residents. Texas has over 7,000 intensive care unit beds. Now, why do I mention that? Anyone want to guess what the intensive care unit bed count in South Africa is? Take a wild guess. Anybody? Country of 60 million people. Twice as many people as Texas. How many ICU beds does South Africa have? 26 years after the ANC took over. Not 300. The government claims it's closer to 3,000, a little over 3,000. 3,000 beds. And they wanted the lockdown so they can prepare more beds, but they haven't. They have not done that. So you still have well under 4,000 intensive care unit beds in a country twice the size population as the state of Texas. The state of Texas. In fact, let me look up the GDP of the state of Texas. Yeah, there you go. Let's see what that is. Texas GDP. $1.8 trillion for Texas. And South Africa? Ladies and gentlemen, South Africa, Roger Dighton, is it Dighton? Just subscribed. Well, thank you so much for subscribing, Roger. Really appreciate that. There goes the zombie climbing the Mahaly'sburg. South Africa has 60 million people, and using the 2018 figures, which is not really this high, it says $368 billion. So South Africa's GDP is about one-fifth the size of Texas, which has half the population. So that means that the people in Texas are 10 times as prosperous as South Africans. Ouch. Ouch. Yes, Hendo, it is higher than South Africa. It's 6 times higher. Or, yeah, 360. Let's just do the math here rather than, let's just top it out. The GDP per person in Texas is $65,000. Wow. Which is on line with the states. That's the average. Joe Emilio's like, what? Yep, that's true. So 1,803,000, 18,180,000, 1.8 divided by 368 million. It's nearly 5 times the size of South Africa's economy, the state of Texas alone, with half the population of South Africa. No uranium, no diamonds, no gold, just democracy, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and lots of oil. But the oil is not the reason that drives the economy. IT, pharmaceuticals, universities. Those are the things that drive Texas economy. 125,000 deaths. Christian, we've talked about this and the fraudulent attribution of people dying to COVID-19. It does have oil, yes, Tian, but oil is just a fraction of the Texas economy. Let me see if I can find out how much oil contributes to the economy of Texas. See what the figure is here. Historically, the 4 major business enterprises that shaped the Texas economy were cattle, bison, cotton, timber, and oil. Yep, bison is no longer the issue. Yep. But energy does play a key role, not just oil. Texas has big wind industry. It also has alternative industry there as well. Tourism plays a big role. Entertainment, healthcare, all of these play a role. Yep. Absolutely. No, Texas is massive, man. Things are bigger in Texas. Things are bigger. Joe's going to go back to Texas. Well, let me compare it to Pennsylvania, man, since we're doing that, okay? Pennsylvania GDP, it's not going to be nearly as big as Texas. We only have 12 million people here. So let me get that figure. Pennsylvania GDP. We'll do that very quickly. Pennsylvania GDP is $728 billion, or just over a third of Texas's. But we have about a third as many people. So there you go. So it's about the same. Yep, the prosperity is good here as it is there. Yeah, so there you go. Texas is big, man. When people say things are bigger in Texas, they are bigger in Texas. Garrett says, what do I think about making D.C. a state? I disagree. D.C. is not a state. The District of Columbia is exactly that, a district of federal land donated by the state of Maryland and Virginia. Of course, Virginia reneged. They kept their portion of the land. It was supposed to be a diamond shape for the District of Columbia with land on both sides of the Potomac donated by Maryland, Virginia, and the bastards in Virginia reneged. And so on that side of the Potomac, it's Virginia. But on the eastern side of the Potomac, the land that was donated by Maryland is the District of Columbia. So that is a federal district. It is federal land for the for the location of the seat of government, not for a state. And those people have no right to be a state. It has a very transient population with lots of people moving in and out of D.C. all the time, even more so than the average in the United States. No, has no right to be a state, and they're not entitled to a state. They're lucky they get a representative in Congress. I don't think they deserve that. You don't have to live in the District of Columbia to work in the District of Columbia. You can live in Maryland or Virginia, and many people do. So I disagree with that entirely. Texas GDP is 5 times higher than South Africa's. California is the 7th or 8th biggest in the world, depending on how it's done. That's true. Yanni says our GDP is parking change compared to... What's that? What happened there? Graham Lee just subscribed. Well, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, Graham Lee, and for getting that zombie climbing the Mahalicesburg. I always love to see that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, so right there, ladies and gentlemen, ouch, exactly right. When people talk about how important South Africa is, listen, I mean, I'm not trying to offend South Africans. You guys who know me know how I feel about South Africa. I feel very fond of it. But it doesn't matter in the scheme of things. It doesn't. I'd have to search long and hard to find a state in the U.S. that has a GDP. Maybe somewhere like Wyoming. Let me try Wyoming and see what its GDP is. Maybe we can see what's going on there. Wyoming GDP. Wyoming GDP is $35 billion. Okay, but it only has 500,000 people. Let me try a state that's a little bit bigger. Ohio has, no, let's go with Kentucky. Kentucky GDP, okay? 189 billion, so that's not quite. I'm trying to find a state that's the same. It's got the same. Washington State. There we go. Washington State GDP. Washington State is. It's going to be high because it's got. Okay, here you go. Washington State has $414 billion in GDP. Bear in mind that that's also a state that has Microsoft and Real Networks and all these other big IT companies out there. But now let's get to population. It's not that big, ladies and gentlemen. Washington State population is 7.6 million. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's put this in perspective here. A state with 7.6 million people compared to South Africa's 58 to 60 million people has an economy that's $50 billion larger than South Africa's. Washington State. Yeah, okay. So again, when we're talking about the importance and geopolitically of South Africa in the world, it's not that important. And so when the ANC seems to think they have some kind of bargaining position with folks, they don't. Okay. Economy of Texas is good. Okay. Yanni says, what impact do you think COVID-19, the restrictions, has had on drug trafficking exports? My sister's an advocate involved in human trafficking. COVID-19 boosted that trade. Yeah, I've been concerned about what's happened with human trafficking with COVID-19. I suspected that it's probably worse than it was before that because the people who do it are involved in illicit trade and oftentimes pay off officials. And with actually less traffic, less people moving about, with corruption involved, it's actually easier just to pass through these things. So, yeah, it's been a concern. What do I think that's had on drug trafficking? I'm not sure, Yanni. It's a good question. Whataburger. Yeah, people love Whataburger. It is a good question. I don't know the status of it. Certainly, there's been lots of illicit trade. We see it in South Africa with cigarettes. Commerce will find a way, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter whether people ban things or not. Luke says Africa's beautiful, won't be immigrating. Gotcha. Just deployed by lefty Hillary supporters. Could be. Okay. Had time for bed. Yeah, Nigel, I think we're all going to drop off here in a second. I got to get some exercise. Utah. What about you? You want to know Utah's GDP? Utah's population is only a few million. What's going on there? Somebody's trying to call me? The Brew's trying to call in as I'm about to hang up. 3.2 million people in Utah, and the GDP is 136 billion. So smaller than South Africa. It's only a third of the size of South Africa's roughly. How much do you spend on health insurance, Chris? I spend $600 a year on health insurance, Christian. My deductible is $3,000 for the year, but that's the max, catastrophic. So for a family, I only have to pay $3,000 US per year for my health insurance. Any bills prior to that, I have a copay at a civilian care facility. And if I go to a military facility, if that's the plan I choose, then I pay nothing for the care. Yeah, so that's what I pay. But that's state run. And while it's very generous to me, it is not a true reflection of the marketplace. If the market was allowed to float properly, it would be better for everybody. So I have a very advantageous plan because of my military service. So yeah, I don't pay much at all in the way of medical care. But yeah, and actually I'm entitled to free health care. I don't even have to pay that insurance. If I want I can simply forego the insurance and go to the Veterans Administration for all my care because I'm a disabled veteran and entitled to 100% medical care at a military facility, or at a Veterans Administration facility. So I don't pay much if that's where you're going. I'm the wrong guy to ask about that. I'm not paying $10,000 a year courtesy of Obamacare destroying and distorting the insurance market. My insurance rates are protected. Yep. But good question, Christian. Good try. We are infinitesimally small in all of creation. It's a comforting thought. I like that, Sean. Hey, Sean, you're here. I didn't know you were here. Rigel T says, Alaska plus bush plains equals chilled life free of PC bull. Yeah, no, Alaska rocks, man. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. I like the Ice Pilots of the Northwest or something like that. That's a cool show. Yeah. Gareth says, how are you disabled? Well, I've been verbally attacked by leftists, and it's left me in a state of PTSD. $1,737,051 a year for medical. $1,700 for medical aid, if you don't mind. What else? Me too. Yeah, you're also. No. The way it works is that, I mean, listen, if you just combat physical demands, the mental demands, you get broken down in certain ways, and you don't even know. I fine as far as I know, but the assessment by the Veterans Administration discovered things that entitled me to a disability pension from the Veterans Administration. So, yeah, and eventually those things will cause me problems in life, most likely. Well, Brew, I'm not joking about PTSD. I'm joking about the question he raised, and so anyway, but I get your point. Thanks, Christian. What did Christian say or do that you're thanking for? Let me find what he said. M4 medical aid for better. South African government plans to develop a $40 billion Chinese-controlled energy and metallurgical industry. Yeah. No, Messina Mercado is their free zone for industrial development. Very fascinating how the Chinese got that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Trump is trying to cut healthcare spending. Yeah, anybody trying to cut healthcare spending is a brilliant person, and they're smart to try to cut unnecessary healthcare spending. We spend over $500 billion a year for people who have lifestyle-induced chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, that if they lived a life properly, instead of abusing alcohol, drugs, or living poorly and not exercising, they wouldn't have these diseases. As a consequence, the rest of us have to carry them to the tune of over $500 billion per year, about $600 billion a year plus for those diseases, which are entirely preventable for 90+% of those people. So, yeah, there are ways to cut healthcare by encouraging healthier living, coming back with things like the president's fitness program, things like that, which were abandoned years ago. Lots of ways we can do this. Lots of ways we can do that. But Trump is not trying to cut healthcare spending. What healthcare are you spending talking about? You talking about Medicare, Medicaid? Nope. Not lowering my taxes. I'm still paying 16% of my income so other people get free medical care, including illegal immigrants who aren't even Americans, who have no business being in this country. They're criminals who have invaded my country. And I have to carry them? That's nonsense. It's nonsense. When I go to El Salvador, nobody pays for my medical bills. I've got to pay for that. I go to South Africa, nobody pays for my medical bills. And I enter there legally, nobody pays for my medical bills. I have to pay for them. So no, Trump is not trying to cut medical care. Show me your evidence. You asked for my evidence earlier? Where's your evidence? Stephen Molyneux for a chat updating. Which Stephen Molyneux? There's a couple guys named Stephen Molyneux. Not sure. Okay, where are we at? I did say I was going to cut off at 1:30, and here we are coming up in 2 hours. The Affordable Care Act has been cut. No, it hasn't, Christian. No, it hasn't. The Affordable Care Act has not been cut. The only thing that's been done to the Affordable Care Act is that the mandate has been taken out. So the mandate was put in place to coerce and to force Americans into paying a fee for being an American. What I mean by that is that you were charged a fine by the federal government if you didn't have health insurance. So in effect, you had to pay a fee to be an American, which is utter nonsense. That's not how we founded this nation. So what happened is that was rescinded, and the courts upheld that the government could take that requirement out. So you're no longer forced to buy health insurance. If you don't have health insurance, then you don't have health insurance, and there's no penalty for it. That's all that's been done. The Affordable Care Act, or the better termed Unaffordable Care Act, is still in place, and it's distorting outcomes in this country. Christian, we can have this conversation for ages, but it's utter nonsense. First off, you know what you're talking about. The Affordable Care Act did nothing for medical care in this country. It did nothing. All it did was distort and jerry-rig and fix the insurance market to the favor of insurance companies and the federal government. at the expense of the taxpayer and the medical recipient. Did nothing for healthcare. It fixed nothing. There's no more doctors. There's no more hospitals, no more clinics, no more CAT scanners that were purchased or came about as a consequence of that. All that we have now is a jerry-rigged insurance market, which has distorted the outcomes and subverted free enterprise. That's what we have. That's why we have these problems. That's why the costs have gone up, because they're not sustainable, because the system is jerry-rigged and the money goes in the pockets of corrupt friends of Barack Obama and his allies in the Democratic Congress who put that legislation through without ever even reading it. Well, we'll read it after we've signed the bill. Seriously? Yeah. Let's get started on that because you're just wrong. What about food stamps? What about food stamps? Here, little newsflash for Christian, our leftist troll on here tonight. Let me help you out. The fewer people that are on food stamps, the better society is. Do you think it's good to have 30 or 40 or 50 million people living on public aid? No. That's a failure. And that is the Barack Obama years. An additional 12 million people were added to food stamp rolls. That's not an accomplishment. That's a failure. Under Donald Trump, because of economic prosperity, the numbers have declined. When you have a job, you make an income, you reach a threshold, you come off the food stamp rolls because you no longer need public assistance because you can manage on your own. So less people on food stamps is not a failure. See how the left thinks, ladies and gentlemen? They think that that's a failure. That's a huge success. What Christian means to imply by this is the false narrative that Donald Trump is cold and mean. He took food stamps away from people that need it. That's horse shit. That's nonsense. People no longer need it, so they're no longer below the threshold to qualify for food stamps. I lived off of food stamps as a child. It's a degrading experience. But they make it so easy today. You don't even have food stamps. It's a misnomer. You have a little credit card. Looks like a regular credit card. You go to the store and you use it. Nobody knows about the shame that you're poor, dirt poor. But when I was a child and I had to go to the butcher shop on the corner of Scranton, Pennsylvania, and hand over those bright purple-colored $5 and it's green-colored $1 food stamps, oversized, large in the bill, incredibly embarrassing to show publicly that I was living in poverty. It was degrading. It saps the moral strength of a person. But now we make it okay to live in poverty. People should be ashamed of living in poverty. Not ashamed of themselves, but the fact that the circumstances led them there and desire to get out of it. People not on food stamps is a good thing, Christian. Don't distort this with your leftist nonsense. Just crazy, man. Oh. Henda says, I love the discussion with Christian. No, I just like, showing him up. It's easy to do. And Joe says, exactly, less people on food stamps means things are better. Oh, Eureka's here. Where did Eureka come from? I didn't see her. Hey, it's worse than Sasa Grants. Yeah, good to see you, Eureka. Good to see you here tonight. Lucania is still with us. The issue of people living on welfare is that their children will also depend. Well, okay, yes, that's true, Lucania, but that doesn't mean they're consigned to it. Do I live on welfare? Nope. Have I ever taken a penny of public assistance in my adult life? Not one. Now, I have taken grant assistance to go to university because I lived in poverty and I was entitled to it, which leveled the playing field so that people who were poor could also go to university. And in my case, I got to go to university as a consequence of it. I didn't make good use of that money, but I did go to university. And then when I went to university on my own dime and what I'd earned through the military, I was much more serious about it. I'm not arguing against grants for those who don't have the money. We should have a system like that so that everybody has an opportunity, if they have the capacity for university, to have a chance to go. Yeah, but never taken a penny of public assistance. When I got out of the Army in 1987, went back to university, I was told to go register with the unemployment office in Ohio. So I went to Logan, Ohio, and I went into the employment office, and I felt dirty, like I'd walked out of like a porn club or a strip club or something like that. Not the drive-through strip club you have in Nelson Mandela Bay. That's cool. Apparently you can just, drive through. No, but seriously, I went to the employment office and I started filling the paperwork out to claim unemployment because by law, as a discharged veteran, I was eligible for the maximum amount or the minimum amount of unemployment insurance, and I would have gotten a check for doing nothing. And so I started filling the paperwork out, and the whole thing just felt very dirty, nasty. And I didn't even finish. I thanked the people for their time. I walked out of the building and never applied for unemployment. I didn't have to have the unemployment. I was entitled to it. It was my right. It was there for me by law. But I had saved money. I had money to live off of until I found work. And 2 days later, I got an interview at a radio station and got hired as a disc jockey at a radio station. So I just never took it. So I'm not arguing that people shouldn't take public assistance when they're in desperate dire straits and they need help. I'm just saying that I've never taken it, and I'm proud of that. And I lived in poverty and on public assistance as a child and food stamps, and I've never resorted to that. And so I've always saved and invested for the future so that my circumstances would never lead me to a situation in which I would need public assistance. Now, easier said than done, and I'm not condemning people who can't do that, because millions of people don't have the ability to do that, either because they don't have the capacity or circumstances don't work for them. I'm just saying that I haven't, and I'm proud of that. Clinton says, oh, you're talking Christian, okay. Yeah, Tion says, Sasa is vote buying, correct. Bush implemented the trickle-down economics. It doesn't work. Again, Christian, you're wrong. The trickle-down economics is the concept that came from Ronald Reagan's time. It does work. It absolutely does work, and the data supports it on every level. So it's just a leftist myth and lie that it doesn't work, and it's a derisive term applied to lower tax rates, which spark economic growth, returning more money to the people so they can reinvest it in the economy, and they have it available for consumer spending as well. So, yeah. Anyway. Stephen Molyneux is being deplatformed. I don't know who Stephen Molyneux is. Okay. Stephen Molyneux. Like I said, there's more than one Stephen Molyneux. So is this a comedian or is this, let's see. Lots of people being deplatformed, folks. Canadian far-right white nationalist podcaster, former YouTuber, is known for his promotion of scientific racism and white supremacist views. Well, if that's true, I'm not too interested in listening to the guy. I'm not into white supremacy, and I don't believe in racism. And the concept of white nationalism is just a silly thing. I don't get that at all. Nationalism, I get. If he's a white nationalist, why is he married to a Greek woman? His wife is Christina Papadopoulos. She's Greek. That's not a very good racist. A racist, he would marry an Irish or a Norwegian woman. Anyway, yeah, he's been deplatformed, but he's not alone. Katie Hopkins has been deplatformed. They'll get rid of Trump if they can. What else? Clinton says, be proud you have a conscience that makes you a real man. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. How are we doing here? Erica says she loves Stefan. Well, what I'm seeing is the Wikipedia description of the man, which is as good as the people that fill it up. It can be right, it can be wrong. So I'll check into him and find out what he's about, and I'll listen to what he's got to say. They think Germ's a white supremacist, so maybe check it out. Joe, good point. Yeah, I don't think Germ's a white supremacist. I think he's trying to be comical when it comes to those things, but I could be wrong. I've never sat around a braai with him, but we have talked, and I've not seen that. Dogburger says, what news article is making him out to be far right? He's not. Okay, well, that's what I said, Dogburger. This is the problem. Garbage in, garbage out with the internet. This is the Wikipedia. Just the first thing comes up, of course, because Google, licensed Wikipedia, so they put it up the top there. So I don't know anything about him. People say that Katie Hopkins is a racist. No, I don't think Katie Hopkins is a racist. They also go after, what's that one, the skinny Lara, not Lara, what's her name? I can't think of her name. The white American girl that they go after all the time. I can't think of her name right now. Laura Southern. That's not who I'm thinking of. It's someone else. Steve Mullen is just conservative, not supremacist. Well, thank you, Flying Dutchman. Then I'll check into it. Yeah. No, they do that all the time. They mischaracterize people and they describe them as something they're not. Ann Coulter. No, Ann Coulter's not the person I'm thinking of. This is the attractive one. What's her name? I can't think of it. She's attractive. Ann Coulter's not attractive. Remember, I'm apparently racist too. Well, yeah. Well, that's true, Joe. You are a racist piece of Egyptian crap, aren't you? Caitlin, no, that's not it. Gosh, I'm sorry, guys. What is her name? Gosh. Let me look for this. Maybe I'll get it this way. You'll know who I'm talking about if you just think of who she is. Okay. Conservative white women. Okay. Come on. Can't find it here. You'd think there'd just be a list of this. Conservative white women. There's not. I can't think of her name now. Anyway, she'll come to me later. No, not Katie Hopkins. No, she's young. Why is Chris blushing? I'm not blushing. It's just sun, man. No, she's not an actress. Now we're all trying to figure out who this is. What is her name? Gosh, what is her name? White. Sort of white women. Media. Let's try that. See, this is YouTube. It's not YouTube. This is Twitter, or not. Sorry, this is Google. Intentionally not give me something I want. I could just look for Democratic women, and I'll get all the women the names So white women meet podcast. Let me try that. Podcast. What's her name? 13 great podcast conservative women. Okay, let's see if this is one of them. What is her name? That's just driving me nuts now. No, none of these are actually. Allie Beth Stuckey's not the one I'm thinking of. Anyway, it's not coming up. This is driving me nuts. Anyway. Of course, Wikipedia's doctored. Actually, I'm an author on Wikipedia, so it's a whole interesting platform. The actress chick, no, Caitlin, Tom, yeah, there you go, Tommy Lauren. Thank you, Suzanne, that's the one. Tommy Lauren, that's what I'm thinking of. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yes. Now, why was I trying to think of Tommy Lauren? Thank you so much for that. That's exactly who I was trying to think of. Gosh, my brain was freezing there on that one. Tommy Lauren, yeah, yep. That's who I was thinking of. Yep, she's the one. Tommy Ray Augustus Lauren. Wow, that's a long name. She's 27 years old. She's from Rapid City, South Dakota. There she is. And let's bring her into Wikipedia since we're talking about Wikipedia here. Let me bring her in on that. So here we go. There you go. Tommy Lauren. There you go. Yep. Grew up in Rapid City, South Dakota. Graduated from high school in 2010. Oh, my God. She has German and Norwegian descent, and she still has to bleach her hair blonde. Yeah, the Norwegians don't have many blondes, actually. The Germans have more. She interned for Republican Congresswoman Kristi Noem from South Dakota, serving as first intern at her Rapid City office. Yep, let's see what else. Yep, she burst on the scene in 2015, 2016, so she's been around for a while. Yep. In November 2018, she said the highlight of her Thanksgiving had been watching United States Border Patrol fire tear gas at migrants trying to illegally cross the Mexican border. Oops, that's going to get you in trouble with the left. In December 2018, she ran a Fox Nation segment focusing on how members of Central American migrant caravan had been stopped in Mexico that year were carrying diseases. She listed several unconfirmed cases of HIV, AIDS, chickenpox to support the claim. The same month, she urged President Trump to shut down government to force Congress to fund the construction of the wall. Yes. She lives in Nashville since April. She left L.A. Good for her. L.A.'s toxic. Good for her. Yep, that's who it is. Yeah, that's who it is. Is she married? I think she's engaged or has a boyfriend. No, she's not married according to this. Okay, so there's hope for you there if you want to check it out. Bruce says Norwegian's the most perfect specimens. Not many blondes up there, though. Attractive was the giveaway. Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, that's probably what was attractive. Yes. Yeah, she is. She's not bad looking. Anyway. Yanni Fundevalt, not chiming in. Oh, Yanni's not getting in this conversation. Reese was watching earlier. He's not going to get involved. Anyway, yikes, you guys are too much. That's crazy stuff. Anyway, who cares about hair color? Okay. Lots of people care about hair color. Black women bleach their hair blonde too, man. People love blonde hair for some reason. Anyway, including Tommy Lauren. She bleaches her hair. So. Yikes. How do we get on that? Why were we talking about Tommy Lauren? I don't even remember what was going on there. And Christian must have fallen asleep, or he just disappeared. Or is he on a timeout? Did somebody put him on a timeout again? Stefan Molyneux is none of those things. He tells the truth. This is Dr. Philosophy. Wikipedia is blatantly false. Hi, Jill Ashkettle. All right, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Gil, not Jill. Sorry, Gil Ashkettle. Sorry. Gil. I will look him up and take a look at him. But folks, it's not the only platform out there. Folks can go to Parler for those who don't know Parler. Now, I'm not going to wholeheartedly advocate. I'm just going to mention it because people are being deplatformed left and right, particularly conservatives. Anybody that's not basically taking a knee and apologizing for the pigmentation of their skin is being deplatformed these days. So I'll mention Parler because it's been around for a couple of years. I actually joined it right after it started, but I found that the site was tetchy, the app was unreliable, it would crash on me, the data would not be current and updated. It really frustrated me. So, Jill, not Jill. Okay, Jill. Is it short for Jillian? Yeah, Parler. So yeah, here's Parler, folks. That's actually my profile on Parler right there. So you can see I joined it in December of 2018, right after it came out, and I had a lot of problems with the site. It was unreliable and tetchy. And I used it earlier today, and it drove me nuts because it has a nice feature in which you can put like 1,200 characters in there. But the problem with, or 1,000 characters, excuse me. The problem with that is that it will let you put the characters in. But what happens is it kind of runs a script in the background, and it's slow. I'm sitting there waiting for the keys to type that I've already typed sometimes. So you can see I don't have a lot of followers on there because I just started using it again the past week or so. After they deplatformed Katie Hopkins, I went back to the platform because I heard it was better. But here's some things I posted. So earlier, I call this Fly the Empty Skies. I'll probably make a video on this about the airports being open. There's your uber talented Minister of Transport in South Africa there. Yep, right there. And then this one here, that was the op-ed piece that I mentioned earlier. I commented on that. So you can see there's some of the comments I put there about clickbait. And this is Team Trump now has, oh, by the way, if you want, you can download Trump 2020. It's an election campaign app that's come out to support Trump's reelection campaign. And then anyway, so this is kind of the feed. I like that one there. That's kind of funny. Check it out. Check out the tongue on Sleepy Joe. Anyway, so there you go. So that's Parler, folks. You can check that out online. It's pretty cool. It's still got some growing pains, but a lot of people moving there because it's still a free speech movement. They don't censor people. So it is a fascinating platform to check out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, folks are starting to hit the rack now. The Bruce says I don't get Parler. It's Parler. That's probably why you're not getting it, unless you just mistyped. Parler. So here, actually, I'll do this. Put mine in there. Copy. You can just go check out mine. You can learn all about the site that way. Why is it not pasting? Paste. There we go. All right. So that's in the link. You can check that if you want. Anyway. All right, folks. It's about that time. I think we reached apogee here. And from this point, we'll just fall back to earth at a rapidly increasing pace. So I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out, of course, with Giselle in Plekken-Dizon. And don't forget this week that later in the week on Thursday, I'll have a live stream call-in program. And we'll talk about land and poverty in South Africa. So check out the stream link and look in the description for the link to the article that I wrote on LinkedIn. Please read the article and be prepared if you want to join the conversation to talk about that. We'll do that on Thursday. On Saturday, my guest will be Major General Johan Josta, who is a retired two-star general from the SADF and then SANDF, and he reached the rank of two-star, and then worked for private industry and later for the South African National Park Service. Also this week, I'll have David Otto on, who's an expert in counterterrorism. We'll be talking about counterterrorism in Africa, among other things. And so those are some of my live upcoming streams. Also, Jeremy Nell from German Warfare owes me an appearance on my program. I haven't scheduled it for this week, but I'm going to try to get Jeremy Nell in this week as well as a special feature. So that's what you have. See, told you he went searching. Trump was in church recently. The air conditioning was magical. Can you explain? Christian. That's funny, man. Okay, I'll give you this. Christian, you can be original sometimes. I got to give you credit for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, God bless. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Before we leave, let me just give you an update on what the story is here. On Chris White Africa, we are now sitting at 4,112 subscribers. Thank you so much. 53 members of Chris White Africa, 4,112 subscribers. Thank you all so much for that. Really, really appreciate your patronage and your participation here on the channel. And have a pleasant and safe evening. I'm going to go out and get some exercise in now since the temperature is finally dropping from near 30 back into the 20s. It should be tolerable for me. God bless. And don't believe what people say about me. Clip Cup, what are people saying about you, man? Anyway, with that, we're going to close out with Giselle. Have a pleasant evening. God bless everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow.